Chapter 1455. Ouch! Softer, softer. It hurts so much. Night fell, but in a ward of Lantian County's Tang Joint Medical Center, there was a faint light. A woman with a good figure was applying medicine and bandaging a burly man. What was annoying was that the man was still crying and howling from time to time. Those who didn't know the situation would think that they were doing something in the room. Serves you right. Who asked you to ride without looking at the road and like to look around? The woman with a good figure could not help but snort angrily, looking at her face carefully. Who else could it be but Gu Qingwei? And the man half leaning on the couch was Cheng Chumo. It turned out that the woman Cheng Chumo saw on the road today was Gu Qingwei, who had just finished work and was about to go home. However, this fellow was so fascinated by the scenery that he did not even know that he had crashed into a telephone pole. Hearing Gu Qingwei's scolding, Cheng Chumo was not ashamed. Instead, he smiled proudly and said, Gu, Dr. Gu, you can't blame me for this. You said that a piece of iron was sucked away by a magnet. Can you blame the iron? If you want to blame someone, you can only blame the magnet for being too attractive. Summer was really a good season. Cheng Chumo, whose hormones were exuberant, seemed to be enlightened at this moment. His speech was obviously much better than before. How could Gu Qingwei not understand the meaning of Cheng Chumo's words? But it was precisely because she understood that she felt both angry and a different kind of emotion in her heart. Ouch! 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 Dr. Gu, can you be gentler? Cheng Chumo, who had just said something, suddenly felt a strong force coming from his knee, followed by a sharp pain. It was so painful that he almost cried. Oomph! Who told you to talk nonsense? Gu Qingwei's eyes were filled with anger as she glared fiercely at Cheng Chumo. Obviously, she had deliberately taught Cheng Chumo a lesson just now. Cheng Chumo finally understood. Not only did the girl in front of him have a hot figure, but her temper was also quite fiery. He couldn't afford to offend them. Cheng Chumo decided to restrain his wretched and dissolute nature a little, so as to avoid further physical pain later. If Dr. Gu thinks that I'm talking nonsense, then I'm talking nonsense. Today, I really have to thank Dr. Gu. Otherwise, where would I find a clinic at this time? But it would be better if you were a little gentler. Cheng Chumo scratched his head and decided that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Gu Qingwei snorted and rolled her eyes at a certain someone. She said, back then, Guan Gong didn't even make a sound when he scraped his bones to treat his wounds. But you, on the other hand, are in so much pain from a small fall that you want to die. Are you still a man? F***CK. He could tolerate other things, but Cheng Chumo could not tolerate it when it concerned his gender. Dr. Gu, what you said is wrong. Lord Guan was a peerless hero. Wasn't it natural for him to not be afraid of pain? It can't be that anyone who can't compare to Lord Guan isn't a man, right? Then you really won't be able to get married in the future. What he said sounded like it was true, but as he spoke, this idiot couldn't help but drive. Not only did he drive, but others also had evidence of him driving. Although Gu Qingwei's personality was stronger than the average woman, she was still an unmarried girl. How could she tolerate others saying that she couldn't get married? You're the one who can't get married. Your whole family can't get married. You're really an ingrate. I shouldn't have saved you today. Gu Qingwei put her hands on her hips and scolded Cheng Chumo fiercely. Cheng Chumo shrunk his neck. Obviously, he didn't expect Gu Qingwei to have such a big reaction. He hurriedly said, Dr. Gu, calm down, calm down. I didn't say that you can't get married. I'm only saying that according to your standards, there aren't many men in this world, so you can't get married. But obviously, there can't be only a few men in this world, so it's impossible that you can't get married, right? Hearing Cheng Chumo say, you can't get married, Gu Qingwei was about to explode. When Cheng Chumo finished speaking, she couldn't help but roar. You lecher! Shut up! Get out! Get out now! Tang Alliance Medical Center doesn't welcome you. Hey, don't. I'm an injured person, and you're a doctor. Aren't doctors supposed to save the dying and heal the injured? How can you chase me out? Cheng Chumo also realized that there was something wrong with what he said just now, and hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Gu Qingwei just said it out of anger. She didn't really want to chase Cheng Chumo out. After all, Cheng Chumo was still injured. However, Cheng Chumo's words just now were really too hateful. It was impossible for her to admit defeat now. Fine. You won't leave. I'll leave. Anyway, you've already applied medicine on your leg. You can rest here for a night, and you can walk tomorrow. After a moment of silence, Gu Qingwei said coldly. Cheng Chumo was stunned. He thought to himself, didn't I say too much even if you can't get married? It was just a joke. Why do you have to overreact? He didn't know that his unintentional words had hit Gu Qingwei's soft spot, so Gu Qingwei had such a big reaction. Dr. Gu, wait. Seeing that Gu Qingwei was really going out, Cheng Chumo hurriedly said, it's dark now. Lantian County and Chang, in city, are all under curfew. Where can you go? Besides, you're a girl. It's dangerous for you to go out alone so late at night. Hearing the faint concern in Cheng Chumo's words, Gu Qingwei's ears turned red, and her expression was a little unnatural. After a moment, she snorted, no matter how dangerous it is outside, it's still safer than here. Even a fool would be able to understand the deeper meaning of this sentence. After saying that, she walked directly out of the door. Cheng Chumo was stunned and hurriedly said, hey, Dr. Gu, wait. You stay, I'll go out. But at this time, Gu Qingwei had already left without looking back. How could he still see her? Cheng Chumo was anxious. How could he bear to let a girl wander the streets in the middle of the night? So at this time, he didn't care about the injury on his knee. He directly jumped off the bed and limped out, shouting, Dr. Gu, wait. You stay in the room. I'll sleep in the hall of the medical hall. Ouch! Cheng Chumo ran too fast and sprained his knee under the strenuous exercise, adding to his injury. His right knee instantly lost feeling, and he fell forward to the ground. Gu Qingwei, who was walking in front, heard the movement behind her and immediately stopped. She turned around, and a trace of panic flashed in her eyes. Then she hurriedly walked over to Cheng Chumo. Why do you have no sense of seriousness? You're clearly injured, but you still want to get off the bed and run out. Great. Your injury that could have been healed in 1 or 2 days will now need at least 7 or 8 days to recover. After helping Cheng Chumo into the room and checking his injury, Gu Qingwei couldn't help but reprimand him. As a doctor, the most annoying thing was when the patient was disobedient and caused the patient's condition to worsen. Gu Qingwei was no exception. Cheng Chumo grinned and said, I'm worried that a girl like you will encounter bad people if you sleep on the streets at night. Let's say first, you'll stay here in a while. I'll go downstairs to sleep in the hall. It's hot now, so you don't have to worry that I'll catch a cold at night. Who cares if you catch a cold at night? Gu Qingwei rolled her eyes and grumbled in her heart. But she said, who told you that I'm going to sleep on the streets? Behind this joint medical center is the temporary residence of the doctors. I have to go back and rest, so I'll leave this place for you to stay. After saying that, Gu Qingwei waved her hand and left very suavely, leaving behind a stunned Cheng Chumo. F*CK? There's a place for the doctors to stay in this joint medical center of Tang? Why haven't I heard of it? After sighing, Cheng Chumo silently glanced at his sprained right leg and couldn't help but curl his lips. He probably felt that it wasn't worth it for this brother leg. Fell for nothing. This lecher, although he's a little perverted and his words are a little hateful, he can still be considered a gentleman who knows how to care for people. After talking for so long, I actually forgot to ask for his name. Pei. No, why do I need to know the name of this lecher? Gu Qingwei, who had always thought of herself as a strong woman, was inevitably confused tonight. The main reason was that Cheng Chumo was different from the men that the matchmaker introduced to her in the past. She felt that Cheng Chumo seemed to be more real. Whatever he was thinking in his heart, he would show it on his face. He was not like the young talents she had seen before. On the surface, they were all cultured and elegant, but behind their backs, they were all dirty and filthy. Although this little girl's temper is a little fiery and impatient, she's quite good at taking care of people, and she's also very good-looking. On the other side, Cheng Chumo touched the bandage on his knee and whispered with a smile on his face. Previously, when he borrowed the car from Lisa Xuan, He had repeatedly assured that there wouldn't be any accidents. He didn't expect that in less than a day, he and the car would crash into an electric pole. Although the culprit was Gu Qingyue's beauty, it was still a collision. He just didn't expect Gu Qingyue to be a doctor, and a doctor of the Joint Medical Center of Tang at that. This was really a bit too much of coincidence. AI, get up quickly. It's time to change your medicine. Early in the morning, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Cheng Chumo was still chatting with Zhou Gong in his dreams when he heard a woman's voice in his ear. Moreover, the voice was a little loud, and it was difficult for him to not wake up even if he wanted to. Miss Ge, Dr. Ge, how did you come in? Cheng Chumo rubbed his sleepy eyes and said in surprise, Your door wasn't locked. How do you think I came in? Gu Qingyue rolled her eyes and said in a bad mood, Oh, I don't think I closed the door last night. Cheng Chumo scratched his head and thought for a while before saying, His knee was injured last night. After Gu Qingyue left, he didn't have the strength to get out of bed and close the door, so he fell asleep directly on the bed. Sit tight. I'll help you change your medicine. In a while, the clinic will start accepting patients, and I won't have time to take care of you then. Gu Qingyue put down the medicine box on her shoulder and said to Cheng Chumo as she took out the medicine from it. Oh, Cheng Chumo sat up obediently and rolled up his trousers, revealing the injured area on his knee. This time, Cheng Chumo learned his lesson. When Gu Qingyue was changing his medicine, he didn't take the initiative to say a word, not even a humph. It seemed like he wanted to learn from Guan Yu and be a tough guy. Just like that, Gu Qingyue quietly changed his medicine, and Cheng Chumo raised his head and stared at her without saying a word. Although the scene looked a little funny, it was more heartwarming. Gu Qingyue was now squatting. If Cheng Chumo lowered his head and looked, he should be able to see some scenery, but the people of the old Cheng family were all walking and sitting upright. Gu Qingyue was now helping him change his medicine. If he did something like that, how was he different from a beast? It's really strange. Why aren't you in pain today? After changing the medicine, Gu Qingyue stood up and asked curiously. Cheng Chumo said smugly, I used to be on the battlefield with my father. I don't care about such a small injury. Besides, I'm a man who wants to be Guan Yu. Why would I make a fuss over a small injury? Gu Qingyue couldn't help but burst into laughter and said, Keep bragging. Who was the one crying for his parents last night? Then, she felt that laughing like this might make people think that it was unladylike. So she quickly stopped smiling and shifted her gaze elsewhere. But after waiting for a long time, she didn't hear Cheng Chumo's voice. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at Cheng Chumo. At this time, Cheng Chumo was completely stunned. If one were to use 8 words to describe it, it would be that his face was dull and his eyes were shining. Because in Cheng Chumo's eyes, Gu Qingyue's smile just now was simply too beautiful. Did I look good? Gu Qingyue's emotionless voice inexplicably came from the air. Yes, yes, yes. Cheng Chumo replied, subconsciously. To describe his current state of mind in one sentence, it was, I've confirmed with my eyes that I've met the right person. Lecher. Shameless. Gu Qingyue glared fiercely at Cheng Chumo, then stomped her foot and left in a fit of anger. She didn't even want the medicine box. Ouch. In the ward, Cheng Chumo's wails and howls sounded again. It was Gu Qingyue's angry kick, just now, that happened to land on Cheng Chumo's foot. F***CK. Women's minds are really strange. If I said it didn't look good just now, would I have been trampled even more miserably? Cheng Chumo hugged his smelly foot and muttered to himself while sucking in cold air. What were you muttering just now? Coincidentally, at this moment, Gu Qingyue's voice sounded again. Cheng Chumo looked up and saw Gu Qingyue standing in front of the door expressionlessly, staring at him with a burning gaze. No, nothing. Dr. Gu, why are you back again? Cheng Chumo laughed dryly and said. Gu Qingyue walked in at this moment and reached out to take the medicine box on the table. Then, she said, I'm here to ask what your name is and where you live. Cheng Chumo's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to say something, Gu Qingyue mercilessly interrupted him. Don't think too much. I just want to ask clearly and send someone to inform your family to come and pick you up. At the same time, I'll hand over the consultation fee. Our Tang Alliance Medical Center never takes credit. Chung Chumo was speechless, and his heart instantly broke. Chapter 1456. That's right. The bike outside shouldn't be yours, right? It looks very similar to the legendary electric bike. What's your relationship with Marquis? Inside the Tang Alliance Medical Center, Gu Qingwei was secretly delighted to see Chung Chumo's injured expression. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She suddenly remembered the car that Chung Chumo had crashed into the telephone pole yesterday evening and couldn't help but ask. The reason why she was so sure that Chung Chumo was related to Lisa Xuan was because, as far as she knew, there was only one electric bike in the world, and it was in the hands of Lisa Xuan. However, Chung Chumo also had one, so it was either stolen or borrowed. In this world, the number of people who could steal from Lisa Xuan could be counted on one hand. This mischievous lecher in front of her was obviously not one of them. Then there was only one possibility. Chung Chumo's bike was definitely borrowed. To be able to borrow such an expensive bike from Lisa Xuan, it meant that Chung Chumo and Lisa Xuan had a close relationship. Chung Chumo thought about it and decided not to hide it. He smiled and said, "My name is Chung Chumo. I'm good friends with Marquis Yong. How about it? Miss Gu, do you still want to ask me for the consultation fee?" Chung Chumo, the son of Lu Guogong, Chung Yaojin. Gu Qingwei was shocked, but when she saw a certain someone's proud expression, she tried not to show it on her face. Instead, she said lightly, "Yes, of course. Even if Marquis comes to the medical center to see a doctor, he will also take the initiative to pay the consultation fee. Since you're Marquis' good friend, how can you smear Marquis' face? Today, no matter what, you must pay the consultation fee." Chung Chumo was stunned speechless. Gu Qingwei proudly snorted and said, "You stay here. In a while, I will send a servant to your house to inform Lu Guogong. I believe that with his unparalleled reputation, he won't go back on his word, right?" No. Please don't. Wasn't it just a consultation fee? I'll hand it over now. How much is it altogether?" When Chung Chumo, who was on his sickbed, heard that Gu Qingwei wanted to send a letter to the Chung residence, he was truly startled awake from his deathbed. He hurriedly called out to Gu Qingwei and said, in the past, during the weekends, he often stayed at Yinshan Villa. Therefore, even if he did not return to his home in Chang and last night, his father and mother would not think too much about it. However, if Gu Qingwei sent someone to inform them, wouldn't his father know about the embarrassing incident of him crashing his bicycle into an electric pole yesterday? This was something that Chung Chumo would never allow. Not only did he embarrass himself, but he also embarrassed his father, Chung Yaojin. Who knows, old Chung might even beat him up. Gu Qingwei's eyes flashed as she was about to leave. She looked at Chung Chumo with a smile that wasn't a smile and said, "The consultation fee and medicine fee is 200 copper coins. Will eldest young master Chung use Tang Yuan or copper coins?" "Of course it's Tang Yuan." Chung Chumo rummaged through his pockets and fished out 3 Tang Yuan notes. He handed it over and said, rather generously, "Dr. Gu, here's your consultation fee. Keep the change." Gu Qingwei secretly curled her lips. With her family's financial situation, she naturally did not care about a few coins. The reason why she said that was purely to tease Chung Chumo. "Then you stay here properly. Someone will deliver your meal and change your medicine in the afternoon. Your leg will need at least 2 days before you can get out of bed and walk." Gu Qingwei said worriedly as she took the Tang Yuan from Chung Chumo's hands. Won't Dr. Gu be the one to change my medicine later?" When Chung Chumo heard this, he stared at her and said, "In your dreams." Gu Qingwei rolled her eyes at this blockhead and turned to leave. Mr. Zhang San, immediately send people to Raging Bull, Cool Breeze, and Fire Phoenix to investigate. You must find out if they were involved in the betting and match-fixing cases between King Lu and the Sixth Prince last month. In the morning, Lisa Xuan came to the Football Association office next to the academy and told the bearded man about Li Ji's confession yesterday. Since the Football Association of Tang Empire had developed to this point, its personnel allocation was basically complete. As the bearded man was the academy's physical education teacher, And he was not a simple-minded person who was all brawn and no brains. He was good at military strategy and management. Therefore, Li Zixuan handed over the task of the Football Association to him for the time being. The bearded man nodded and said in a deep voice, "Yamacho, don't worry. I will send people to investigate and get to the bottom of this." Li Zixuan said in a deep voice, "Of course I'm not worried about Mr. Zhang-san. Once this matter is confirmed, it will not be tolerated. Moreover, it will be announced to all the teams so that the rest can take note of it." The bearded man responded and paused. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. Seeing that the bearded man wanted to say something but stopped, Li Zixuan said, "If Mr. Zhang-san has anything to say, please say it directly. Between you and me, what scruples do we have?" The bearded man hesitated for a moment and said, "Yamacho, it's June now. Although I've been living a carefree life in the academy for almost a year, this season is suitable for me to go out to sea. Back then, I promised Yamacho that I would protect Yinshan for a year, and it's about to expire. Yamacho, what do you think?" After saying that, the bearded man's face looked a little unnatural. In his opinion, the academy had provided him with good food and drinks for so long, but he was going to say goodbye now. It felt a little unkind. Li Zixuan was stunned. Only then did he realize that the bearded man had actually stayed in the academy for almost a year. Time really flew. The scene of the bearded man being beaten into a pig's head when he went up to Yinshan to ask for the sea map was still vivid in his mind. But now he was going to say goodbye and leave. After lamenting in his heart for a while, Li Zixuan cupped his hands and said, "I was negligent and actually forgot about this matter. For almost a year, I thank Mr. Zhang-san for protecting the academy in Yinshan. Since the agreed time is up and Mr. Zhang-san wants to go out to sea, I naturally have no reason to stop you. However, I would like to ask Mr. Zhang-san to stay for a few more days. At that time, I will hand over the sea map and compass and personally send Mr. Zhang-san off." Hearing Li Zixuan mention the sea map and compass, the bearded man's face revealed a hint of excitement. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Yamacho." Li Zixuan nodded and left. The bearded man looked at Li Zixuan's back and couldn't help but recall everything that had happened to him in Yinshan for the past year. At that moment, his steel-like heart couldn't help but have a trace of reluctance. Yinshan was infinitely good. The mountains were good, and the people were even better. Unfortunately, the sea was the place that he, the bearded man, yearned for. Perhaps in the future, when he was old and couldn't run anymore, he could retire at Yinshan. The bearded man thought in his heart, "Marquis, there's news from the medical hall. They say that the eldest son of the Chung family got into an accident while riding his bicycle yesterday and was admitted to the medical hall." After exiting the academy, Pang Feiji walked over and whispered in Li Zixuan's ear, "Chung Chumo got into an accident?" Li Zixuan heard and couldn't help but frown slightly. "This guy, I shouldn't have lent the car to him. How is he now? Are his injuries serious?" Pang Feiji replied, "His injuries aren't serious. When Mr. Chung got into an accident yesterday, Dr. Gu from the medical hall was at the scene. His injuries were treated by Dr. Gu. Guqingwe, that's good. This idiot is really lucky." Li Zixuan couldn't help but laugh. Gu Qingyue's medical skills were considered the best in the entire Tang Alliance Medical Hall. With her treating Chung Chumo's injuries, Li Zixuan would be more or less relieved. "Let's go to the medical hall to see him." After a pause, Li Zixuan said again. He wasn't feeling sorry for the electric bicycle. He just thought that the speed of an electric bicycle was definitely faster than a bicycle. Chung Chumo's injuries were probably not light. Imperial Palace West Court, Concubine Yang's palace. Li Chung was kneeling on the ground with snot and tears on his face. He looked as miserable as he could possibly be. "Sob, sob. Mother, I know I was wrong." Li Chung looked at Concubine Yang, who was so angry that her face turned green, and quickly cried, "Ching-er, I already knew that you were daring, but I didn't expect you to be so daring. As a descendant of the emperor, you actually threatened a civilian team to play a match. You've completely disgraced the imperial family. From now on, I don't have a son like you. Go to your father to receive your punishment." Concubine Yang looked at her son, kneeling on the ground, and said bitterly, although she said it casually, only she knew how painful it was to say the words, "I don't have a son like you." "Mother, no, no. Cheng-Er will always be your son." This time, Cheng-Er knows he was wrong. "Mother, please give Cheng-Er a chance to change." Li Cheng quickly cried. Li Ku, who was standing at the side, couldn't help but plead, "Mother, please forgive Cheng-Er this time on the basis that he knows he was wrong." This time, he was also bewitched by Imperial Uncle, so he was momentarily blinded and made a big mistake. "Shut up," Concubine Yang quickly interrupted. "Cheng-Er, no matter how wrong King Lu is, he's still your elder. You must not talk about him behind his back." Li Ku's eyes narrowed, and he cupped his hands and said, "Yes, Mother, I know I was wrong." Concubine Yang couldn't help but sigh and said, "Sigh. If Cheng-Er is half as sensible as you, I can be at ease. Now, we can only wait for your father to finish the morning court and see how he will deal with Cheng-Er." "Huh? What are you talking about?" Just as Concubine Yang finished speaking, Li Er's voice came from outside the hall. Concubine Yang and Li Ku quickly went up and bowed. "Greetings to your majesty, father. Cheng-Er is also here?" Li Er nodded. After seeing Li Ku, he couldn't help but be surprised. Replying to father, "I returned to the palace last night. At that time, it was already late. I was worried that I would disturb father's rest, so I didn't pay my respects to father. I hope father can forgive me." Li Ku bowed and said, "Huh, it's fine, it's fine." Li Er laughed and waved his hand. "Cheng-Er, you can be considered to be busy with work in the Yanhuang Bank. Furthermore, I heard that the bank in Lantian County is lending more and more money. Just the monthly interest alone is more than 10,000 strings of coins. It's comparable to a superior county's annual tax. Today, you can tell father about the bank's current situation." Li Er admired Li Ku very much. Not only was he skilled in both the pen and the sword, he was also very smart and knew his limits. He wouldn't fight for things that he shouldn't. Furthermore, Li Ku was able to obtain Li Zixuan's recognition and learn a set of economic skills from Li Zixuan. This made Li Er very happy. Although he trusted Li Zixuan, the economic lifeline of Tang Dynasty was still more appropriate in the hands of the royal family. This wasn't only for himself, but also for Li Zixuan's good. "Greetings to father." Li Ku, who was kneeling on the ground, turned around and bowed to Li Er with a guilty conscience. "Li Ku, you're here too? What are you doing?" Seeing Li Ku on the ground, Li Er couldn't help but be startled. His face couldn't help but darken. The dragon had 9 sons, and each of them was different. Li Ku was obviously one of the least likable of Li Er's sons. Li Er, who was still smiling when facing Li Ku, instantly pulled a long face when he saw Li Ku. Seeing old Li's long face, Li Ku felt even more terrified. He stuttered, "Father, Your Majesty." Xiao Ku forced the team to play a fake match outside the palace and used it to profit. "Your Majesty, please punish me severely." Yang Fei, who was at the side, saw Li Ku's stuttering and couldn't help but speak up. She knew that Li Er disliked cowardly people who dared to do things, but didn't dare to admit it. The more Li Ku stuttered, the more Li Er would hate him. Rather than that, it would be better for her to clarify the matter quickly. There's such a thing?" Li Er's gaze darkened. He looked at Li Ku, who was on the ground with resentment, and said angrily, "Bastard! A dignified prince actually dares to threaten the people and do such dirty things. Our reputation is great. How did we give birth to such a disappointing thing like you?" "Father, please calm down. I know my mistake. I won't dare to do it again." Seeing Li Er angry, Li Ku trembled in fear and hurriedly begged for mercy. "In the future? There's a future? From today onwards, until the day you set up a government office, you can only stay in the palace. You can't go anywhere. When you have 30% of your third brother's ability, we will let you out of the palace." Li Er said angrily. Confinement. This was considered a long-term confinement. It would be at least a few years. After saying that, he looked at Li Ku and said, "Ku, we'll leave this stinking brat to you. We don't expect him to be as proficient in both the pen and the sword like you. As long as he doesn't do things that disgrace the royal family's reputation, we will be satisfied. Li Ke breathed a sigh of relief. To Li Ke, this was already a pretty good result. Thus, he hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Yes, father." Lier flicked his sleeves and left without even sitting down. It was obvious that Li Ke had angered him to no end. When it was close to noon, an imperial edict was sent out to the palace where Li Yuan lived. The king of Lu, Li Yuanchang, was reduced by 300 households, his salary was fined for a year, and he was grounded for half a year. It must be that after Lier left Yang Fei's place, he investigated the whole matter clearly. So he added such an imperial edict. Compared to Li Ke, Li Yuanchang's punishment was obviously more severe. This fellow had been short of money recently and still had to pay 1,500 strings of coins to the bank. Now that he was punished by Lier, it made things worse. He probably had a lot to cry about. Chapter 1457. Don't move. It might be a little painful to tear off the bandage. Bear with it. It's okay. Qinghua, just tear it off. If I make a sound, I'm not a man. Ouch. Who allowed you to call me Qinghua? Lu Guogong is a hero. How'd he give birth to a lecher like you? Huh. Well, we've been through thick and thin together, right? We can more or less be called friends. It shouldn't be too much to call me Qinghua, right? Otherwise, why would you take the time to come over and help me change my bandage? If you think it's unfair, you can call me Chumo or Chonyo. Who's been through thick and thin with you? Yesterday, at most, you were in trouble. I am your savior, so you better show me some respect. I'm here to help you change your bandage because the other doctors in the clinic are too busy. Besides, I think it's good to call you a lecher. How is this good? If others hear this, how can I survive in Chong and in the future? Tang Union Medical Officer. As noon approached, the sharp-tongued but soft-hearted Gu Qinghua finally came over to help Chung Chumo change his bandage. As for Li Zishuan, who came to visit Chung Chumo at the clinic, he happened to hear this good show at the door. You could do whatever you want. What does it have to do with me? All right, I've changed your bandage. If you want to eat, you can ask the servant to buy some food and wine for you. Oh, you can't drink with this injury. I'll take my leave first. After changing Chung Chumo's bandage, Gu Qinghua turned to pack her medicine box and said to Chung Chumo, "This, Qinghua, I can't even get out of bed now. How can I call the servant? Why don't you help me buy some food and wine?" Chung Chumo licked his face and pretended to be pitiful. "Oomph, lecher, you're really pushing your luck." Gu Qinghua rolled her eyes and left with her medicine box. "Chumo, I'm here to see you." Cough, cough. What a coincidence. Dr. Gu is here too? In order to avoid being discovered by Gu Qinghua that he had been eavesdropping at the entrance of the academy, Li Zishuan hurriedly walked out. When he saw Gu Qinghua, he pretended to be surprised. "Marquis, I'm here to help Ting too. Young Master Chung changed his dressing. Dr. Sun still has something to do, so I'll take my leave first. You guys go ahead." In the face of Li Zishuan's sudden appearance, Gu Qinghua's face was a little flustered. She tightened her grip on the medicine box on her shoulder and said, "Yes, Dr. Gu, if you have something to do, then go ahead and do it. Thanks for your hard work." Li Zishuan looked at Gu Qinghua with a smile and said, "Who would have thought that the super strong woman who came to the Tang Alliance Medical Center to apply for a job would have such a panic side? Marquis, you're too kind. Saving the injured is the responsibility of us doctors." Gu Qinghua shook her head and said a few words, then left. When Li Zishuan walked to the sickbed, Chung Chumo suddenly looked embarrassed and didn't know where to put his eyes. In the end, he simply raised his head and closed his eyes. "Of all things, I shouldn't have knocked over your electric bike. Now, if you want to kill me, do whatever you want. Anyway, if you want me to compensate you with a new bike that's exactly the same, that's impossible." When this guy was flirting with Gu Qinghua a moment ago, he was still acting like a bootlicker. Now that he saw Li Zishuan, he suddenly became a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water, piece of meat. The change of character was so fast that it was really jaw-dropping. Li Zishuan helplessly rolled his eyes and said, "Who wants to kill you? When I borrowed your bike, I knew this would happen, but I didn't expect you to fall so hard. I heard from Sun Daozhong that your leg needs at least 7 days to recover. Do you want me to tell Uncle Cheng and ask him to send someone to take care of you?" When Cheng Chimo heard this, he quickly waved his hand and said, "No, no, no. Please don't. Xiao Xian, I'm begging you. Please don't tell my father about this." "Why is that?" Li Zishuan asked suspiciously. Cheng Chimo said with a bitter face, "Aren't you asking the obvious? With my father's temper, if he knew that I hit a pole with my bike, wouldn't he come over and beat me up? How can I expect him to send someone to take care of me?" Li Zishuan was silent. After a while, he said, "In your eyes, Uncle Cheng is that kind of person? What else could it be? I've been his father for more than 10 years. How can I not know him?" Cheng Chimo rolled his eyes and said in a muffled voice. Li Zishuan couldn't help but laugh. He waved his hand and said, "Okay, I won't tell Uncle Cheng. In a while, I'll leave a guard here to take care of your food and lodging. I'll also apply for a week's sick leave from the academy. Here, I asked the Drunken Immortal restaurant to make some food for you before we came. Eat it while it's hot." When Cheng Chimo heard that it was a leave of absence and that there was good food to eat, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. He gave Li Zishuan a thumbs up and said, "Hee hee, what a good brother. The best thing I've done in my life was to recognize you as my good brother at the Drunken Immortal restaurant." Li Zishuan teased at this time, "Hee hee, eat your food. But I reckon that this food shouldn't be as good as the food that Dr. Ge bought for you, right?" Even though Cheng Chimo had always been shameless, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed at this moment. Moreover, his love for Gu Qingwei was only one-sided. He didn't intend to announce his love for Gu Qingwei to the public. When Li Zishuan said this, he felt as if his old face was burning. Xiao Xian, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm going to eat. If you have something to do, quickly go do it." Cheng Chimo quickly took the food box that Li Zishuan handed over with both hands and ordered him to leave. When Li Zishuan saw this, his heart was suddenly shocked, because from Cheng Chimo's expression, it was obvious that he really liked Gu Qingwei. Was this still the rash Cheng Chimo of the past? He even learned how to pick up girls? "You're really ungrateful. As your brother, I've worked so hard for you for so long. You're not even saying thank you, and you're directly chasing me away?" Li Zishuan couldn't help but ridicule. "Oh, we're brothers. Why are we still so polite? Don't you think so, Xiao Xian?" Cheng Chimo said in a muffled voice as he ate the food in his bowl. Li Zishuan couldn't be bothered with this idiot. He waved his hand and said, all right, then you eat slowly. If there's anything, just get someone to inform me directly." The next day, the Tang Daily published 2 major news, which shocked millions of people in and around Chang'an City. The first was an announcement issued by the Tang Football Federation. Tang Football Federation emergency announcement. Raging Bulls team, Cool Breeze team, and Fire Phoenix team, 3 teams of Tang League A, have been permanently expelled from the Tang Football Federation because of 3 match fixing last month. All the players of the 3 teams are permanently banned from participating in any competitions related to the Tang Football Federation. The owners of the 3 teams are permanently banned from establishing any football teams in the Tang Football Federation. We hope that all the teams in the Tang Football Federation will take this as a warning to cherish the hard-won opportunity to participate in competitions in their own honor and stay away from betting and match fixing. If any players know that their team is about to play match fixing, please take the initiative to report it to the Tang Football Federation. For all the reporters, the Tang Football Federation will not punish them, but will instead reward them. From now on, the Tang Football Federation will increase its monitoring efforts. Teams that play match fixing and go against the spirit of competition will not be tolerated. All the people of the Tang Football Federation will also supervise this. Issued by the Tang Football Federation President, Li Zishuan. The second news was an announcement published by Yanhuang Bank. Yanhuang Bank announcement. From today onwards, Lantian County's Yanhuang Bank will introduce the following preferential policies to encourage the people to deposit money in the bank. First, all the people who deposit money in Lantian County's Yanhuang Bank, no matter how much money they deposit or how long they deposit it for, can enjoy the free exchange of Tang Yuan service. Money can be exchanged for 1 Tang Yuan, fair, and square. Second, all the people who deposit money in Lantian County's Yinhuang Bank will receive different amounts of interest depending on the type of deposit, the amount of deposit, and the time of deposit. As for the details, the types of deposit can be divided into fixed deposit and current deposit. Fixed deposit means that the money can only be withdrawn at a fixed time. Current deposit means that the money can be withdrawn from the bank at any time. The annual interest rate for fixed deposit is 1.75%, which means that a fixed deposit for a year can earn 6 when in interest. 10 strings of money is 61, and 100 strings of money is 600 when in interest. The interest rate for current deposit is lower at 0.3%. A fixed deposit for a year can earn 2 for when in interest. Yinhuang Bank will spare no effort to protect the vital interests of every depositor. The money deposited by the depositor will be recorded. The bank and the depositor will each have a passbook that is difficult to counterfeit. The depositor will withdraw money from the passbook. If the depositor loses any money deposited in the bank, Yinhuang Bank will unconditionally compensate the depositor in full. The new regulations will be implemented in Lantian County's Yinhuang Bank as of today. All the people of Lantian County can enjoy the preferential deposit policy. Please pass this message to each other and not miss this good opportunity. In addition, the new deposit policy of Yinhuang Bank in other states and counties will be implemented gradually. Please be patient. Issued by Lisa Schwan, Yinhuang Bank's head steward. After seeing these two pieces of news on the front page of the Tang Daily, the people were all stunned. These two announcements were issued by Lisa Schwan, but they represented two different circles. One was the football circle, and the other was the financial circle. But no matter which circle, these two pieces of news could be said to be super heavy news that could shake the earth and mountains. Countless people were discussing it. What? Team Raging Bull, Team Cool Breeze, and Team Fire Phoenix played fake matches? They are Tangjia League teams. How could they play fake matches? Sigh. If you ask me, they are really stupid. It was not easy for them to become a Tangjia League team. Just relying on the financial support from the businessmen every year is enough for their team to squander for a year. They just had to think about playing fake matches. Now, from the team owners to the players, they can forget about participating in the competitions organized by the Football Association for the rest of their lives. Hey, who said it wasn't? But this is also good. Let's see if any other team dares to play fake matches in the future. Yes, the determination of the Tang Dynasty Football Association to investigate fake matches is unquestionable. Let's see if any other team dares to play fake matches. After a team owner saw this news, he hurriedly shouted, "Quick! Inform all the players to gather in the front yard immediately. I have something to say." Immediately after, when the people saw the second piece of news, they immediately went crazy. What? Not only do you not need to pay a commission to exchange Tang Yuan at the bank, but you can also get interest? Is there such a good thing in this world? When the Tang Yuan was first introduced, there was a free exchange business for the Tang Yuan for a period of time. However, after the imperial court took over the Yinhuang Bank and the Tang Yuan was confirmed as the official currency of the Tang Dynasty by Emperor Lier, this free exchange business was canceled. However, even so, it could not stop the enthusiasm of the people to exchange Tang Yuan. Firstly, Tang Yuan had the endorsement of the Tang Dynasty's imperial court, so it was very secure. Secondly, Tang Yuan was very convenient to carry around. People who were used to using Tang Yuan basically did not want to use cumbersome copper coins anymore. With the support of these two reasons, even though there was a certain commission to exchange Tang Yuan, the people were still very happy to exchange all the copper coins in their hands for Tang Yuan. Now, not only was the commission for exchanging Tang Yuan canceled, but the safety of keeping copper coins or Tang Yuan in the bank was not only not safe, but they could also get interest. In the eyes of the people, this was no different from a pie falling from the sky. This was a good thing that could not be found even if one held a lantern. This little trick of the Yinhuang Bank was not worth mentioning to the modern people who were familiar with all kinds of financial management methods. In fact, many modern people would even feel that it was very low. This was because the interest rate given by the Yanhuang Bank was even lower than some of the modern banks. It was better to store it in the UX bao that could be used at any time. However, the ancient people did not know about all kinds of financial management methods. They only knew that the two preferential methods given by the Yanhuang Bank could be said to be unprecedented. Save money. I want to save all the money in the family in the Yanhuang Bank. Not only is it safe, the interest I get in a year is enough to buy dozens of dongs of rice. I want to go too. Not to mention other things, with this saving until the new year, it is more than enough to use the interest to buy 10 jin of meat for the family. Save, save, save. Zhao San, quickly go back and inform Madam to save all the money in the family in the Yanhuang Bank. Not to mention that it is not safe to keep so many copper coins in the house. We have to take them out to dry every once in a while. Saving them in the bank will save us a lot of trouble. And the interest every year, old master, let me calculate. With our family's wealth, the interest every year will be dozens of strings of coins. Save, save. Hey, didn't you see that it is only limited to the citizens of Lantian County? The citizens of other counties can enjoy this kind of preferential treatment. Hey, why is it that only the citizens of Lantian County can enjoy this kind of good treatment? Why? The Marquis of Yong, and is abusing his power for personal gain, especially for the citizens of Lantian County. What are you shouting about? Didn't you see what the newspaper said? The Yanhuang Bank in Lantian County is only a pilot operation. If the results are good, the banks in other counties will slowly adopt it. What abusing his power for personal gain? The Marquis of Yong, and is selfless, wholeheartedly for the welfare of the citizens. Hey, I won't talk to you anymore. I am from Lantian County. I have to go to the bank to save money. Huh. Hey, after talking for so long, you are from Lantian County. Why am I not from Lantian County? Chapter 1458. Don't push. Come one by one and line up properly. Everyone will definitely be able to line up today. Lantian County, Yanhuang Bank. When the commoners found out that the Lantian County Bank did not charge any commission and that they could earn interest from saving money, they all brought along most of their copper coins and flocked over. At this moment, the sun had just risen and the bank had just opened for business. The door was already filled with people. The manservants in the bank quickly came out to maintain order and calm the excited hearts of the commoners. After all, these commoners were all carrying a large bag of copper coins. If there was a dispute because of queuing, it was easy to lose money. Considering the situation, Liko hurriedly sent someone to inform the Lantian County's Yamen runners to come over and maintain the law and order here. However, there were still too many people who came to save money. There were more than 1,000 people. Although the streets of Lantian County were not narrow after the renovation, it could not accommodate so many people. The entire street in front of the bank was filled with people. There are so many of us. Will the bank not take our money when it's our turn? That's right. There's so much money. The bank can't take it all, right? Some of the commoners who were queuing at the back could not help but worry. The manservant of the bank had clearly been trained. Hearing this, he said loudly, "Don't worry. Since Marquis dares to say that we can save money to earn interest, our bank will definitely be able to take in everyone's money. Furthermore, we will definitely be able to guarantee the safety of everyone's savings. If you have something to do today and cannot wait, go ahead and do it first. Wait until there are fewer people behind you to save money. Our bank will take it all. This I guarantee you." The manservant's words made the commoners feel more at ease. Those who were queuing at the back were prepared to carry their bags of copper coins home. After all, the commoners had a lot of farm work to do during this season. However, there were still some rich people in the queue who were not at ease. They questioned, "You guarantee? You're just a manservant. What guarantee do you have? If everyone listens to you and goes back now, what if the bank doesn't take the money when they come back tomorrow? What will you use to compensate us for our losses?" The moment he said that, there were sparse voices of agreement from the crowd. "That's right. You're just a manservant. What guarantee do you have? When the time comes, who will compensate us for our losses?" "That's right. We can't go back. Today I must deposit all my copper coins in the Yinhuang Bank. Right. I'm not leaving. After such a commotion, the people who were preparing to go home immediately stopped in their tracks. The manservant who shouted earlier couldn't help but blush when he saw this scene. However, no matter how much he said, it was useless because he was only a manservant of the bank. If his promise is useless, then what about mine? At this moment, a young man walked out of the bank's hall and said expressionlessly, although his voice wasn't loud, it was loud enough to be heard clearly by everyone. Who is this young man? Shut up. That's His Highness, King of Shu. What? It's His Highness, the King of Shu? Soon, someone recognized Li Ke. The chaotic scene instantly calmed down. Since everyone recognizes this prince, then this prince will make some things clear in front of all of you today. Li Ke looked at the crowd and said in a clear voice, waiving commission and saving money to earn interest is a preferential policy that the Yinhuang Bank of Lantian County has introduced to all the people in our county. This policy is long-term and will definitely not be gone tomorrow. I, in the name of the King of Shu, promise all of you. Your Highness is wise. Your Highness is mighty. After hearing Li Ke's solemn promise, the people immediately burst into cheers. After a while, the cheers gradually died down. Li Ke continued, also, there is something that this prince needs to tell all of you in advance. That is, the deposit interest rate of the Yinhuang Bank is not fixed forever. This month it is 1.75%. Next month, it may increase to 1.8%, 1.9%, or it may decrease to 1.7%. It may increase, and it may decrease. However, this prince can promise all of you that even if the deposit interest rate decreases, it will not be lower than 1.5%. Therefore, there is no need for everyone to rush to the bank to deposit money today. It will be the same when you have time to deposit money. Moreover, the interest rate might be higher by then. What? The deposit interest rate can still increase? Good. Can any of you calculate for me? If the interest rate increases to 1.9%, how much interest would 100 strings of cash earn in a year? Old master, 100 strings of cash earn 15-20 copper coins in a year. That's close to 2 strings of cash. Haha, good. Then 500 strings of cash will be 10 strings of cash. Let's go. There are so many people today. Let's not fight with everyone to save money. That's right. There's no rush to save money. I still have to go up the mountain to water the white stack today. Yes. I'll save money when I have time. Hearing Li Ke's words, those at the back of the line, whether they were rich or ordinary people, all turned and left. Those at the front of the line did not leave. Although the deposit interest rate could increase in the future, it could also decrease at the same time. They might as well save their money in the bank today and be at ease. Seeing that most of the people had left, Li Ke could not help but heave a sigh of relief. This could not be blamed on the small scale of the Yinhuang Bank. It was just that the flow of people just now was too huge and too scary. Even if the bank scale was 10 times bigger, it would not be able to handle it. This was just like a modern bank. If a bank received thousands of depositors at the same time, it would not be able to handle it. Moreover, this sudden surge of customers was not a healthy and long-term way for the bank to operate. What the bank needed was a stable and long-term source of customers. The rest of the people, line up and go in one by one. Pass the copper coins to the servant who is counting the money. Also, tell him whether you want to deposit it for a current or fixed period. Remember to take your passbook and put your fingerprint on it. Li Ke looked at the remaining commoners and ordered loudly, Yamacho, you're here. I have something to ask you. In the afternoon, Li Zishuan had just arrived at the workshop. Not long after, Li Tai came to Li Zishuan with a messy stack of blueprints. Qin Ke, you didn't sleep last night? Li Zishuan was stunned. This was because Li Tai's hair was messy and there were dark circles under his eyes. This did not match the little fatty's usual clean image. It was obvious that he did not sleep last night, or did not sleep well. Li Tai scratched his head, causing his already messy hair to look even more like a chicken's nest. Yamacho, there were some things that I couldn't figure out last night, so I read a little more. However, I still slept for a few hours. Yamacho, quickly help me solve a few problems. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep well tonight. It's over. Looking at the little fatty's appearance, it was obvious that he was possessed, just like Wang Ji back then. What problems? Tell me. In order to let the little fatty have a good night's sleep, Li Zixuan brought Li Tai to a meeting room and said. Li Tai put down the blueprints in his hand and looked at Li Zixuan. Yamacho, I've already figured out the working principle and manufacturing process of the DC motor, battery, and diode. However, I heard from Professor Mo yesterday that you mentioned to her that there's an electronic device that can amplify current. I think it's called a transistor. It's based on the principle of the diode. Can you tell me more about it? Li Zixuan was slightly surprised. Qingke, why do you suddenly want to hear this? Li Tai replied, Yamacho, I think that with the transistor's ability to amplify current, we can do a lot of things. For example, we can use it to increase the transmission power of the telegraph. Other than that, I believe that it can be used in many other places. It's very important, so we should build it as soon as possible. Hearing this, Li Zixuan's eyes flashed with surprise. He tapped the table lightly with his finger. After a moment of silence, he spoke with a serious expression. Qingke, you're right. The transistor is indeed very important. It seems that the Academy's second killer project is about to start. The second killer project? Li Tai exclaimed in surprise. Suddenly, he said excitedly, Yamacho, does the second killer project have something to do with the telegraph? Li Zixuan nodded. That's right. But before we talk about it, I have to confirm if you're willing to participate in the Academy's second killer project. Li Tai didn't even think before replying. I'm willing. Yes, of course I'm willing. Li Zixuan was gratified. That's good. Today, I'll briefly explain the second killer project to you. The main purpose of this project is to improve the existing telegraph so that it can achieve ultra-long distance wireless communication. This ultra-long distance should be at least 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles? Li Tai opened his mouth in shock. Then wouldn't it be able to cover the entire Tang Empire? Li Zixuan nodded. That's right. Although this sounds a little exaggerated, it's not impossible from a technical point of view. With the transistor and the diode, we can increase the transmission power of the telegraph. On the other hand, we can create detectors to enhance the telegraph's ability to identify useful information in electromagnetic waves. In addition, we can set up telegraph relay stations in the various provinces and counties to receive and transmit electromagnetic waves. With this three-pronged approach, it won't be difficult to achieve ultra-long distance communication. Although Li Zixuan's explanation was simplified as much as possible, there were still many technical terms in it. Li Tai only understood half of it. Yamacho, if the improved telegraph can really achieve ultra-long distance communication, as you said, then our Tang Empire will very likely dominate the world in the future. Li Zixuan smiled. It's not just very likely, it's definitely. Tang Empire will definitely become stronger and stronger and become invincible in the world. In fact, the second trump card project has another purpose, and that is to use the improved telegraph to lay a certain foundation for Tang Empire's electronic industry in the future. For example, the electronic diode, the transistor, the resistor, the capacitor, the inductor, and so on. We have to find a way to produce some basic electronic components. Only then will we be able to produce more advanced and convenient communication tools than the telegraph. Li Tai listened attentively. Hearing this, he couldn't help but excitedly clasp his hands and say, Student Li Tai is willing to help Yamacho. Although he had given up on fighting for the throne, he was still a Tang Empire citizen. He hoped that Tang Empire could become stronger, especially after he learned geography at the Academy. After he understood how big the aristocratic families were and how many countries there were, his desire to make Tang Empire invincible in the world became even stronger. The pride and national honor of the Tang Empire was incomprehensible to others. Li Zixuan smiled and said, You are talented and smart, and you like to study. Of course, this second trump card project can't be done without you. I just hope that you won't complain about being tired when the time comes. Li Tai shook his head and said, Yamacho, don't worry. I've survived the military training. There's no obstacle in this world that I, Li Tai, can't overcome. Quickly teach me how to make the transistor. That was why it was said that military training was the best way to train people. After going through the military training, the little fatty was filled with the courage to overcome all difficulties, because he already felt that there was nothing more difficult than military training in this world. Li Zixuan nodded. He picked up the blueprint in Li Tai's hand and began to write and draw. It's not wrong to say that the transistor is based on the diode, because compared to the diode, the transistor only has an additional grid. The so-called grid is a mesh or spiral electrode made of metal filaments. It controls the electric field on the surface of the cathode, thus changing the cathode's emission of electrons or capturing the secondary emission of electrons. Qingke, you can make it like this. After Li Zixuan's explanation and step-by-step teaching, Li Tai finally understood the workings of the transistor and how to make it. After digesting it for a while, the little fatty frowned and said, Yamacho, after the transistor is made, how can I be sure that it can really amplify the current? Do I have to connect an electric lamp at the back and judge the strength of the current based on the brightness of the lamp? This question stumped Li Zixuan. After a long silence, just as Li Tai was about to lose his patience, Li Zixuan finally spoke. He looked at Li Tai with some sympathy and said, Of course we can't use this method. Firstly, it's not accurate, and secondly, it's too troublesome. Therefore, I think it's time to start Yinhuang College's third trump card project. Hearing this, Li Tai almost fell off his chair. After calming down, he said with some surprise, The third trump card project? Yamacho, isn't this a bit too fast? The second project hasn't even started, and you're already starting the third? Li Zixuan shook his head and said, It's a bit too fast, but we have no choice. The Academy's technology is developing too fast, and many of the basic facilities can't keep up. We can only carry out the trump card projects together. Li Tai thought for a while and felt that Li Zixuan's words made sense. He sighed helplessly and said, Yamacho, what's the third trump card project? Li Zixuan said slowly, the ammeter, the voltmeter, and some other basic instruments. The Academy wants to take this opportunity to set up its own standards committee. Chapter 1459. Li Zixuan had always wanted to set up units and standards for new physical quantities. In addition to these, Li Zixuan also planned to let Yinhuang College set the standards for new technologies in the future. In Li Zixuan's previous life, a certain superpower had launched a trade war using technology as the vanguard in order to curb the rise of China. Some international organizations and technical standards committees had wanted to kick out China's outstanding companies in an attempt to cause China's high-tech industry to collapse. At that time, although Li Zixuan was angry, his words carried little weight and his ability was limited. But in this life, Li Zixuan had the ability and status. He had to push China's technological development and let China's technological strength stand at the top of the world. Maybe his generation couldn't do it, but he could lay a solid foundation for future generations. This was why Li Zixuan was so busy and tired when he could just eat and wait to die for the rest of his life. Not only did he want to build a military power, but he also wanted to build a technological power. Yamacho, are these ammeters and voltmeters specifically used to measure current and voltage? Li Tai asked in surprise after hearing about Li Zixuan's third trump card project. Li Zixuan nodded and said, That's right. Any physical quantity must have a measurement scale and a quantitative measurement tool. In the future, if we want to develop more precise and complex integrated circuits, it's impossible without an ammeter and voltmeter. In addition, we also need to make instruments specifically used to measure electrical resistance. So, Qingke, we have a heavy responsibility on our shoulders. Li Tai nodded in agreement. Then he frowned and said, But Yamacho, how am I going to make an ammeter and voltmeter? Li Zixuan knew that it would be difficult for a child who had only been exposed to electricity for less than a year to make an ammeter and voltmeter. So, he picked up a pen and drew a sketch on rice paper and said, Look, Green Sparrow, we can use the principle of electromagnetic induction to make an ammeter. When an electric current passes through, the electric current passes through the magnetic field along the spring and the rotating shaft. The electric current cuts the magnetic induction wire. So under the effect of the magnetic field, the coil is deflected, driving the rotating shaft and the pointer to deflect. Since the magnitude of the magnetic field force increased with the increase of the current, the magnitude of the current could be observed through the degree of deflection of the pointer. As for the voltmeter, we can use the above principle to get the current, then connect a resistor with a known resistance, and multiply the current by the resistor to get the voltage scale. The ammeter that Li Zexuan was talking about was called a magnetoelectric ammeter. It was the kind that was often used in modern school laboratories. Li Tai nodded his head as he listened. After a short pause, the little fatty asked, "Mountain leader, where do we get this resistor with a known resistance value?" Li Zexuan was stumped by this question. If they were in modern times, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to make a resistor with a known value? He could get as many as he wanted, but this was ancient times. Most people in this era didn't even know what a resistor was. Where would he get a resistor with a known value? After pondering for a long time, Li Zexuan finally said, "Since we don't have a resistor with a known value, let's set our own standard. Let the workshop forge a steel block that is 1 inch in length, width, and height, and use it as a standard resistor of 1 ohm to make a voltmeter. With a voltmeter and an ammeter, we can measure the resistance of all devices." In the end, it was still a matter of standards. There were many standards in this era that didn't exist, so he could only create standards. Otherwise, there would be a lot of follow-up work that couldn't be done. Li Tai heard this and said with deep admiration, "Yamacho is wise." Li Zexuan smiled and said, "Qingke, you will probably encounter many similar problems in the future. You must diverge your thinking, have the courage to think, and have the courage to do. Otherwise, you will never be able to surpass me in the future, because you learned all your knowledge from me. Only by having the courage to forge ahead will you be able to surpass me." This guy was painting a pie in the sky for Li Tai again. To be honest, even if Li Tai was a celestial being, even if Li Tai worked hard, he would still never be able to surpass Li Zexuan in engineering. Even if there was a chance, the probability was only 0.001%. After all, this guy's brain contained hundreds of years of engineering knowledge, the crystallization of more than 10 generations of knowledge. How could Li Tai surpass him? However, Li Tai definitely didn't know this. This poor kid was nodding energetically and said, "Tai will remember Yamacho's teachings." Li Zexuan nodded with a gratified expression and said, "And go." Li Tai stood up and saluted Li Zexuan, then turned around and left in high spirits. TSK, TSK. No wonder the teachers in my previous life liked to give their students chicken soup for the soul, because it really works. Li Zexuan sighed softly as he watched Li Tai leave with his head held high. If Li Tai heard this, he would definitely vomit blood. "Faubert, I'll have to trouble you to arrange for someone to make something for me." After helping Li Tai, Li Zexuan came to Faubert's office and said, "Young master, what do you want to make?" Faubert stood up and asked with a smile. Li Zexuan took out a stack of blueprints and said embarrassedly, "Faubert, the thing I want to make this time is more complicated. Take a look at it first. If there's anything you don't understand, I'll explain it to you later." Faubert nodded and then immersed himself in the blueprints. After a while, the surprise on Faubert's face became more and more obvious. After looking at the last blueprint, Faubert couldn't help but ask, "Young master, you want to make a car?" Li Zexuan nodded and praised. "Faubert has good eyesight. That's right, I want to make a car." Faubert frowned and said, "But what kind of car is this? Why does it look bigger than a horse carriage?" Li Zexuan replied with a smile, "I call it an electric car. The principle is similar to an electric bicycle. It uses a battery and an electric motor to drive the wheels to achieve the purpose of fast travel. It's just that this electric car is bigger, can carry more people, and needs more electricity." Faubert paused and said doubtfully, "Young master's idea is good, but this way, the car will become heavier. If it carries more people, I'm afraid it will be difficult to drive the car." Li Zexuan shook his head and said, "Faubert, You don't have to worry about this. The electric motor of this electric car is definitely different from that of an electric bicycle. It has more power and traction. You just have to arrange people to make it according to the blueprints. You can ask Chin K or me about the parts related to electricity, but you must remember to keep it a secret from Shouting and Ink Girl. Hearing this, Faubert asked curiously, "Young master, why is that?" Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Faubert, this car is my wedding gift to Shouting and Ink Girl. I plan to give them a surprise when the time comes." No matter what, Yin Shouting was still his good brother. His good brother's wedding gift definitely couldn't be shabby, so Li Zishuan came up with this idea. Faubert heard it and understood. He nodded and said, "I see. Young master, don't worry. I will arrange for people to make the car for you, and keep it secret." Faubert's old face was full of gratification. Yin Shouting and Li Zishuan, one was his current boss and the other was his former boss. Faubert had always had deep feelings for the Yin and Li families. Since Li Zishuan was so concerned about Yin Shouting's marriage, it proved that Li Zishuan really saw Yin Shouting as a brother. Of course, Faubert was happy. At the same time, Uncle Fu became more and more attentive to the car-building matters that Li Zishuan had instructed him to do. He secretly told himself that he had to be 120% alert and keep an eye on the people below to build the car building properly. "Kuer, I heard that countless people flocked to the Yinhuang Bank to save money today. I wonder if you can still handle it over there? Do you want Father to send more people to help you?" In the evening, Li Ku was unexpectedly summoned back to the palace by Li Er. After dinner, Li Er began to show concern for Li Ku's daily work. Li Ku was flattered. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your concern, Father. However, I can handle the bank. Yamacho told me this afternoon that he wants to recruit a group of guards for the Yinhuang Bank. After all, there is too much money in the bank. If there are criminals coveting it, the loss will be too great." Li Er nodded thoughtfully and said, "Yes, Marquis Yong An's arrangement is very appropriate. Let's do as he says. Father, I won't do anything unnecessary." "Father, what are you saying? Yamacho and I are already grateful that you can personally inquire about the bank's affairs." Li Ku quickly cupped his hands and said, although these words were somewhat flattering, they were also somewhat sincere. After all, Li Er didn't ask about the bank's affairs before. Don't flatter, Father. I'm already tired of hearing such words." Li Er waved his hand and said with a smile. Then he asked again, "Kuer, now that the people are flocking to the Yinhuang Bank, want to save money to earn interest, can the Yinhuang Bank take in so much money? When the time comes, can we pay off the promised interest to the people?" Originally, the free exchange of Tang Yuan for the commoners was already an act of the bank to give up on profits for the sake of the commoners. Now, not only is the bank not collecting the money for the commoners, but it is also giving them interest. In the long run, won't the Yinhuang Bank be unable to make ends meet? Li Ku pondered for a moment and said, "Father, the Yinhuang Bank will definitely not lose money. The annual interest rate we give as citizens is 1.75%, and the annual interest rate for lending money to the merchants is 8%. If we can borrow 100 strings of coins from the citizens to the merchants, then the Yinhuang Bank can earn 6.25 strings of coins a year with these 100 strings of coins. One thing that can't be ignored is that the 100 strings of coins didn't originally belong to us, but to the people who came to save money. In other words, our bank doesn't use any capital and can earn 6.25 strings of coins a year from the people's 100 strings of coins. This is a business without any capital, and the profits are not low at all. Where else can we find such a business? How can our bank lose money?" Modern banks had many types of business income, including the interest rate difference between deposits and loans, commission fees, investment income, etc. But the most important thing was still the interest rate difference between deposits and loans. This was the foundation of the bank. Similarly, today's Yinhuang Bank's most important way of making profits was the interest rate difference between deposits and loans. When Li Er heard this, he nodded thoughtfully. Then he asked, "What you said just now makes some sense. But if there are too many people who come to save money, and the merchants who come to the Yinhuang bank to borrow money are not enough to support such a large amount of savings. For example, if the people save 100 strings of coins and the bank only lends out 100 strings of coins, then wouldn't the Yin Huang Bank still suffer a loss? To be able to say this, it proved that Li Er had done his homework. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked such a sharp question. Li Ke couldn't help but laugh. "Father, you don't have to worry about this." The reason why this policy of saving money for interest was first tested in Lantian County is mainly because the merchants in Lantian County are very active. All kinds of shops, big and small, have sprung up like bamboo shoots after the rain, appearing in the market of Lantian County. The merchants in the surrounding counties came and went. Under such circumstances, the merchants in Lantian County naturally have a higher demand for money than the merchants in other places. At the end of every month, the Yinhuang Bank in Lantian County would have a shortage of money. Now that the people are actively saving money, the bank probably won't have a shortage of money in the future. This is very beneficial to the expansion of the bank's business. Before this, I have carefully calculated with the bank staff. According to the current business situation of the bank, as long as the deposits are less than 500,000 strings of coins, we definitely won't lose money, and will even make a big profit. "Oh, Kuer, you're so confident?" Li Er couldn't help but ask with a smile. Li Ke replied, "Of course. Imperial Father, don't forget, although the interest rate of our bank's loans is higher than the deposit interest rate, compared to the other large families that lend money, the interest rate that our bank charges for loans for merchants is as low as it can be. Just based on this point, as long as the merchants lack money, they will definitely come to our Yinhuang Bank to borrow money. Therefore, we don't have to worry about whether we will lose money or not." "Oh, the annual interest rate of the Yinhuang Bank in Lantian County is only 8%. Compared to the loans of the people, the interest rate is really low." Li Er had some understanding of the affairs of the people and nodded. This 8% annual interest rate may be a little scary in the eyes of the modern people, but to the ancient people, this interest rate was simply too cheap. In this era, a monthly interest rate of 10% could be called the conscience of the industry. With a monthly interest rate of 10%, the annual interest rate would be over 100. It was a little too expensive, especially during the Sui and Tang dynasties. The imperial court set up a special fund called the public capital for official loans. Its function was a little similar to a modern-day bank. The public capital was managed by the various prefectures, lending out 50,000 yuan. The monthly interest rate was 4,000 coins, and the annual interest rate was about 100%. Therefore, the interest rate of the Yinhuang Bank was simply a blessing from the heavens to the merchants who lacked money. Chapter 1460. Marquis. This Lin has exchanged 120,000 caddies of brass from the Wei Nation merchants. It has all been transported to Lantian County. The next day, early morning, Lin Wenyuan came to Marquis Yong and Manor and reported to Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan was delighted and said, "So fast? Good. 120,000 caddies, plus Mr. Wang has already set up the production line at the Gull aluminum mine. Our Lantian County shouldn't be lacking in brass for a short period of time. Boss Lin, you have done this Marquis a huge favor." 2 days ago, he had just received news that the production line at the Gull aluminum mine in Lantian County had been set up. According to Wang Ji's estimation, the first month's output of brass from the Gull aluminum mine should be about 3,000 caddies. Although it sounded a little, but in this era where there was a lack of brass, it was quite a lot. Furthermore, as the refining process matured, the monthly output of brass would definitely increase greatly. By then, the Great Tang Imperial Court would also pay attention to the wet smelting copper technique. The Gull aluminum mine would definitely become very popular. "You're too kind. To be able to work for Marquis is this Lin's honor." Lin Wenyuan bowed slightly and quickly cupped his hands. Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Boss Lin doesn't need to be so modest. Now that we have such a huge amount of brass, this Marquis can arrange for people to set up electric wires in Lantian County. By then, the people of Lantian County can be like Yanhuang College and use electric lights. Boss Lin has to be credited for this." I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. Lin Wenyuan cupped his hands, and suddenly his eyes flashed and sighed. This Lin just moved from Chang'an City to Lantian County a few days ago. I didn't expect to be able to enjoy such a magical thing like electric lights. No matter what, this is all thanks to Marquis's kindness. So helping Marquis to exchange brass is also helping this Lin. This Lin doesn't dare to claim the credit. Li Zishuan chuckled and asked, though, Boss Lin has settled down in Lantian County? Is there anything you need this Marquis's help with? Settled down. Everything has been settled. The residence that I purchased is in Yong and Lane. It's only a few steps away from the Marquis's estate. Lin Wenyuan smiled and cupped his hands. Although the population of Lantian County had increased explosively in recent months, it was basically hard to find a place to live, and the prices of the houses and shops had increased by a lot, especially in Yong and Lane where the Marquis residence was located. Those who could live here were either rich or respectable, and ordinary people simply couldn't afford to buy a house here. However, Lin Wenyuan was still part of the first batch of members of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce. With his wealth, it wasn't difficult for him to buy a house in Yong Lane. As for why he wanted to settle his family in Yong and Lane, those who understood would naturally understand. Oh, doesn't that mean Boss Lin is my neighbor? Li Zishuan raised his eyebrows and smiled. Lin Wenyuan hurriedly said, I dare not. I dare not. I just want to be able to listen to Marquis's orders better. Li Zishuan didn't comment on this, but smiled and asked, Boss Lin, if you have any difficulties in doing business in Lantian County in the future, you can come and find this Marquis. This Marquis may be able to help you with some matters within the law. The officials of this era generally looked down on merchants, but Li Zishuan had never looked down on merchants. The workshop's products sold well all over the world, and the prosperity of Lantian County today were all due to the merchants. Sometimes, Li Zishuan was also willing to give the merchants some benefits to let them help him develop his territory. Thank you, Marquis. Lin Wenyuan's heart was instantly filled with a huge surprise. He stood up and cupped his hands towards Li Zishuan. If Marquis has any errands in the future, I will definitely be at your beck and call. Li Zishuan thought for a moment, then smiled and asked, It's already June. How is your son, Lin Hao, preparing for the exam? Hearing Li Zishuan mention Lin Hao, Lin Wenyuan's old face was immediately filled with gratification. He cupped his hands and smiled. Thank you, Marquis, for your concern. My son has been diligently preparing for the exam under Han Zhao's guidance for more than half a year. He hasn't slacked off at all. This old man has watched this child grow up, but I have never seen him put so much effort into anything. From this, it can be seen that he really wants to get into a sacred place like Yanhuang College. Li Zishuan smiled and said, You reap what you sow. With your son working so hard, he will definitely reap some rewards. Immediately, he felt that it was a bit inappropriate to say that. It was as if he was hinting that Lin Wenyuan would secretly recommend his son to get into Yanhuang College. So he quickly added, However, even if your son is careless and fails in the exam, it doesn't matter. Now that the Lin family is considered to be part of Lantian County, Lin Hao can directly study in the county school. There are many teachers in the county school who have taught in Yanhuang College. After studying there for a year and a half, and then getting into Yanhuang College, the success rate will greatly increase. Under normal circumstances, Li Zishuan would not open the back door in the matter of college enrollment. In the past, royal children like Li Ku and Li Tai relied on their own abilities to get into Yanhuang College. Even if Lin Wenyuan helped Li Zishuan do more things, Li Zishuan would not open the back door for his son, Lin Hao, in a matter of college enrollment. Hearing this, Lin Wenyuan's eyes flashed with a trace of imperceptible disappointment. It was mainly because Li Zishuan's first half of the sentence gave him hope. Otherwise, he would not have felt slightly disappointed. Marquis is right. When I decided to move my family to Lantian County, I also had this layer of consideration. After all, in other provinces and counties, it is basically impossible for a merchant's son to get into a local government school. Lin Wenyuan cupped his hands and smiled. At this moment, he had already thought it through in his heart. This was because compared to other merchants, he was undoubtedly much more fortunate. The prosperity of Lantian County today relies on the prosperity and vigorous development of commerce. Behind this, it cannot be separated from the efforts of merchants. This marquis will not be like other officials in other provinces and counties, ostracizing merchants and their sons. Lisa Xuan said with a solemn face. Marquis is righteous. Lin Wenyuan cupped his hands. Then, as if he suddenly thought of something, he said somewhat embarrassedly, speaking of commerce in Lantian County, this Lin is planning to build an inn recently to provide a place for merchants to rest. However, in the construction of this inn, there are many problems. I wonder if Marquis can help? Build an inn? What kind of inn does Boss Lin plan to build? According to what Lin Wenyuan said, this inn was definitely not an ordinary inn. Otherwise, he would not have come to ask for help. Li Zixuan could not help but ask curiously. Lin Wenyuan cupped his hands and replied, Marquis, this Lin plans to imitate the style of the Cloud Mountain Villa. With reinforced concrete and color glass, this Lin plans to build a 6-story inn. The interior decoration will be a copy of the Cloud Mountain Villa's decoration. There will be sofas, transparent color glass windows, and so on. I hope that Marquis can allow it. If it was someone in a higher position, they would definitely not agree. After all, people in a higher position were all tyrannical. They did not wish for someone to imitate their own home to build an inn. However, Li Zixuan did not care about this. Instead, he was somewhat surprised that Lin Wenyuan could see the potential value of the Cloud Mountain Villa and discover it. He waved his hand and said, Boss Lin is using your own money to build an inn. How can this Marquis disagree? If you like the architectural style of the Cloud Mountain Villa, I have some similar blueprints here. You can use them when the time comes. But then again, after Boss Lin's inn is built, it won't be cheap to stay for a night, right? When he was building the Cloud Mountain Villa, Li Zixuan did not only design a set of blueprints, but also many backups. Now that he did not have the energy to build a house, it was not a bad idea to give it to Lin Wenyuan as a favor at little cost. Lin Wenyuan was pleasantly surprised. He cupped his hands and said, Many thanks to Marquis for the blueprints. After this inn is built, this Lin hopes that it can become a big landmark of Lantian County. In terms of price, it should be slightly more expensive than other inns. Immediately, his face showed a difficult expression. He hesitated and said, But this inn needs a lot of cement and craftsmen who know how to build cement buildings. This Lin boldly asks Marquis to help. Cement craftsmen. Li Zixuan's heart moved. He said, The workshop has a lot of cement in stock right now. I can transfer some to you. As for craftsmen, this Marquis has an idea. What do you think? Lin Wenyuan said respectfully, Marquis, please speak. Li Zixuan said slowly, When Yinhuang College and the Cloud Mountain Villa were built, most of the craftsmen were local farmers in Lantian County. This Marquis thinks that if the style of the Cloud Mountain Villa can be liked by the merchants, this Marquis can let some farmers who know how to build a construction team to specially contract the construction of this style of building. Firstly, it will be convenient for you. Secondly, it will allow the commoners to have more income and live better lives. What do you think? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Marquis' plan is wonderful. Lin Wenyuan's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and said with a smile, Marquis, you don't know. There are definitely a lot of merchants in Lantian County who have the same idea. They also want to build a clean and beautiful, tall and sturdy house like the Cloud Mountain Villa. However, they don't have cement or skilled craftsmen. If Marquis really wants to let the commoners form a construction team, there will definitely be a lot of merchants who will hire them. When Li Zixuan heard this, he immediately said, That's good. This Marquis will first let the Han Family Village and Plum Village set up a construction team. Then, I will first supply a batch of cement to Boss Lin. After your inn starts construction, this Marquis will encourage the people of the other villages to set up construction teams and open a few cement factories to speed up the production of cement. Lin Wenyuan said gratefully, Thank you, Marquis. It's just that, if this Lin is so bold, I would like to ask Marquis to help this Lin give this Lin's inn a name. Li Zixuan said with a strange expression, You want me to give your inn a name? Are you sure? Lin Wenyuan had a bad premonition in his heart. However, since he had already said it, there was no reason to take it back. Therefore, he braced himself and said, "Please give me a name, Marquis." Li Zishuan was helpless. He pretended to think for a while, and then said with some mischievous interest, "Then let's call it Dragon Gate Inn." Dragon Gate Inn? When Lin Wenyuan heard this, he was immediately suspicious. He thought to himself, why did Marquis want to name it Dragon Gate Inn? I heard that there's a Longmen County in Hudong Province's Jiangzhou. Could it be that Marquis has some connection with that place? I have to find time to take a look. Li Zishuan didn't know that his little mischievous interest had implicated a big matter. Now that the brass was in place and the dozens of bicycles given to Lin Wenyuan had all been replaced, Li Zishuan immediately ordered to start setting up electric wires for Lantian County. At the workshop, the second generation of bicycles had also entered the stage of mass production. As for the electric bicycles, Li Zishuan planned to postpone it for a while. After all, it would take some time to set up electric wires and connect electricity to every household in the county. There was no point in selling electric bicycles before that. In addition, that afternoon, Li Zishuan found old Lu Qingfeng and Lu Wanshan and told them about the joint construction team in Plum Village and the Han family village. "Young master, it's not a problem for us to set up a construction team to help others build houses like Yinshan Villa. However, the wheat in the fields is about to be harvested. During the busy farming season, no one in the village would be willing to work in the city." Old Hu scratched his head and said. Second Master Lu also nodded and said, "Xiao Hu is right. We farmers naturally have to prioritize our crops. We can't let our crops rot in the fields just to earn money in the city." It wasn't Hu Hanyun and Second Master Lu's fault for not giving Li Zishuan any face. It was just that farmers had always valued their crops more than anything else. This concept was already deeply ingrained in them, and no one could change it. Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Uncle Hu, Second Master Lu, there is no conflict between harvesting crops and working in the city. I didn't say that everyone in the village should join the construction team. That's not realistic. We only need a small number of young people who know how to build to join the construction team. The rest can still harvest crops in the village. Even if we don't have enough manpower, we can just pay outside the village to hire people to help harvest crops. We won't lose anything because the construction team will be very generous." Hearing this, the few of them looked at each other. Finally, Second Master Lu said, "That's a good idea. Young master, don't worry. We will go back and recruit people to set up a construction team. When the time comes, we will go to the county to help people build houses." Li Zishuan nodded. Lu Qingfeng then asked hesitantly, "Young master, where should we buy the cement needed by the construction team?" Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Lu Lijing, you don't have to worry about this. I've already arranged it. Also, I plan to choose a few suitable locations and open a few cement workshops. When the time comes, we won't be short of cement." Lu Qingfeng nodded and said, "That's good." Then, the few of them got up and left. Looking at their backs, Li Zishuan couldn't help but smile. He had always wanted to increase the income of the people. Previously, he had promoted bean sprouts and greenhouse vegetables. This year, he had promoted cotton. Logically speaking, farming could only provide food for the people. If he wanted the people to be rich, he had to think of other ways. The construction team was just a good start. According to Li Zishuan's plan, in the future, he would encourage those poor farmers to open some small workshops. When workshop production replaced the pure handicraft industry, production efficiency would be greatly improved. It would be difficult for the commoners not to be rich even if they didn't want to. Chapter 1461. The next day, a piece of good news came from the workshop. The transistor was completed, and Li Tai used a very crude ammeter to verify that it could indeed amplify the current. Li Zishuan heard the news and immediately rushed to the workshop. "Yamacho, it's done. It's really done. According to my preliminary measurements, after the current passes through the transistor's grid, it's amplified by about 5 times. If we connect a few more transistors, the amplification can be even greater." As soon as he walked into the laboratory, Li Tai greeted him with a face full of excitement. Li Zixuan walked to the test bench and saw a glass tube slightly smaller than a fist and a crude instrument. The instrument didn't even have a casing, and the magnets, springs, wires, and pointers were all exposed. There were only a few simple fixtures. Although Li Zixuan could roughly guess the function of the instrument, the appearance of this thing was really not flattering. As for the glass tube that was slightly smaller than a fist, it should be the world's first transistor, because the glass tube had 3 electrode connectors exposed outside. However, this transistor was too big. The transistors that Li Zixuan used in his previous life were all semiconductor, crystal transistors, which were only the size of a fingernail. With the development of microelectronics, some crystal transistors could even be smaller than 10 nanometers in size. In comparison, the electronic transistor in front of him could be called a giant. Qingke, connected to the electricity for me to see. Li Zixuan knew that now was not the time to be picky. After all, under the current conditions, Li Tai was already not easy to make a transistor. It would be a bit difficult to ask for more, so he pointed to the transistor on the table and said to Li Tai, "Okay, Yamacho, wait a moment." Li Tai nodded in response and quickly started to connect the wires. After a while, he turned on the power switch and pointed to the ammeter. "Yamacho, look, the current at the cathode end is 0.7. Now I connect the ammeter to the anode end. Look, the current is 3.8, which is about 5 times amplification. This proves that the weak signal change on the grid can modulate the current from the cathode to the anode. Therefore, we can get the same current change as the input signal, but the intensity is greatly increased." Li Zixuan saw this series of operations and couldn't help but clap his hands and sigh. Good, good, good. Qingke, I didn't expect you to be able to make a transistor so quickly. It's not easy. Now that we have a transistor, and a resistor with a stable resistance value, the Academy can start the work of modifying the telegraph. Li Tai thought for a while and asked, "Mountain Leader, the factory has already made the resistor that you mentioned before. However, I feel that its volume is too big. If we need a bigger resistor in the future, its volume will be even bigger. If it is used in the circuit, it will seriously affect the volume of the entire product. Is there any material that can replace steel as a resistor?" Previously, in order to make it easier for Li Tai to make the voltmeter, Li Zixuan proposed to make a standard resistor with a length, width, and height of 1 inch of steel. However, although the conductivity of steel was not as good as copper, it was still good. The resistance of a piece of iron wire was very small, so it was not suitable to use it as a resistor. Modern resistors were mostly made of nickel-chromium alloy, while SMD resistors were made of metal powder and glass uranium powder mixed together and printed on a substrate by screen printing. With the current technology, it would be difficult to make these 2 resistors. After thinking for a long time, Li Zixuan said yes. Of course, there are materials that can replace steel. Qingke, you can mix carbon black, resin, and clay according to a certain ratio, press the mixture, and then heat treat it to make a resistor rod. The resistors made of this material are thinner than chopsticks, only about 1/4 of an inch long, but the range of resistance value can be very wide. It can completely meet the needs of any situation. The resistor he was talking about was called a carbon resistor in modern times, and its resistance value was represented by a color ring. Its material was cheap, its cost was low, and its resistance value was wide, but its performance was poor, so it was rarely used. In the market, it was replaced by more stable metal film resistors and SMD resistors. But for the current Tang Empire, it was already quite amazing to have carbon resistors. Carbon black, resin, and clay. Yamacho, can the resistors made of these materials be used? Li Tai was stunned. Carbon black, resin, and clay as resistors. No matter how he looked at it, it did not sound reliable. Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Why can't they be used? Not only can they be used, but they're also very useful. If you don't believe me, Qingke, you can find a craftsman in the workshop later to try and make a batch of resistors like this for you." Li Tai scratched his head and said, "Okay, then I will find someone to try and make one later." Li Zixuan nodded and said, Then this matter is settled. This afternoon, I will officially announce the start of the second and third trump card projects at the Academy. Qingke, you will also attend the meeting. Yamacho, what can I do at this kind of meeting? I'm not going. I still have a lot of things to do here. Li Tai heard and quickly shook his head. When it came to important projects like the trump card projects, the teachers of the Academy were basically in charge. The students only played the role of assistant. Li Tai felt that it was better for him not to attend this kind of meeting. It was a waste of time. However, Li Zixuan still insisted. Qingke, you have to attend this afternoon's meeting. After all, the next 2 trump card projects can't be done without you. After that, he did not wait for Li Tai to respond and directly left. Can't be done without me? Yamacho, what do you mean by that? Li Tai was puzzled. Gradually, he suddenly thought of something and could not help but feel a little excited. Today, I have called all the teachers for this meeting mainly because I have something important to announce. At 3 in the afternoon, all the teachers of the Academy were called to the big meeting room on the first floor of the Guanghua building. As for the students, the first 2 classes in the afternoon were naturally changed to self-study. Anyway, it was near the end of the semester and all the classes were basically finished. The students just needed time to review. Seeing that all the teachers were here, Li Zixuan said in a deep voice. Seeing that Li Zixuan was so serious, everyone could not help but raise their spirits and wait for him to continue. Li Zixuan said, all the gentlemen present here have passed the Academy's confidentiality exam and signed confidentiality agreements. Today's meeting is a top-secret meeting, and the minutes of the meeting will be classified as top-secret documents. After the meeting, Mr. Yin will send someone a file and lock it. What's more, what you hear later is not allowed to be leaked to others, including your family members. Violators will be charged with treason and handed to the Supreme Judiciary for punishment. I hope you can treat it seriously. Hearing this, everyone could not help but become serious. Ever since the Academy established a strict confidentiality system, there had never been a top-secret incident. One must know that top-secret technology was related to the safety and survival of the country. It was not easy to define a document as top-secret. However, it also showed the high standard of today's meeting and the importance of the content. Everyone cupped their hands and said solemnly, yes. Yamacho, we will strictly abide by the confidentiality system of the Academy and will not leak the content of today's meeting. Good. Now, let's officially start the meeting. Li Zixuan nodded and said in a deep voice, today, I called everyone here to inform you that from today onwards, Yanhuang College's second and third trump card projects will be officially launched. Yes, you didn't hear wrong. 2 trump card projects will be launched at the same time. All the Academy teachers present felt that it was incredible. At the beginning of the year, Li Zixuan proposed 100 trump card projects for Yanhuang College, and the Ba hydropower station was the first trump card project. Until now, the first trump card project had not been completed because the later work of the hydropower station had not been completed. However, now Li Zixuan directly proposed 2 more trump card projects. In everyone's eyes, the progress was too fast. Moreover, at the beginning of the meeting, Li Zixuan defined these 2 trump card projects as top-secret projects. This kind of high standard made the Academy teachers feel a sense of seriousness. Yamacho, what are the contents of the second and third trump card projects? Will it be too much pressure to launch them at the same time? Mo Huai couldn't help but ask. Everyone else also looked at Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan replied, of course there will be pressure, but it must be overcome. The reason why I chose to launch 2 trump card projects at the same time is because I have sufficient reasons. Now let me talk about the specific tasks of these 2 projects. The second trump card project is to improve the current telegraph. First, we need to add signal amplification circuits to the telegraph to increase the transmission power of the telegraph. Second, we need to install detectors for the telegraph to identify useful information in the electromagnetic waves and enhance the telegraph's signal recognition ability and anti-interference ability. Third, We need to build telegraph relay stations in key states and counties to be used as transmission and reception relays of electromagnetic waves, further increasing the telegraph's communication range. The ultimate goal of this trump card project is to increase the telegraph's effective communication range to more than 1,000 miles, or even further. The workshop has already prepared the key electronic components needed for this project. Those who are involved in the project can go to the workshop later to understand the details. The communication range is 1,000 meters. Hearing this, everyone present couldn't help but gasp. 1,000-mile telepathic transmission. This was really equivalent to a 1,000-mile telepathic transmission. If this had happened in the past, they would have scoffed if they had heard this. However, in the past year at Yanhuang Academy, they had seen too many incredible things. Therefore, even if the teachers felt that it was inconceivable, no one refuted it. Seeing everyone's incredulous expressions, Lisa Xuan smiled and said, "Although this sounds incredible, everyone has been at the academy for so long. You all have a certain understanding of engineering, especially those in the physics group. You should know that the goal I mentioned just now is not completely impossible, right?" The group of physics students around Mo Huai all showed hesitation in their eyes, and their expressions showed that they were tempted. Mo Huai cupped his hands and said, "What Yamacho said just now is not completely impossible. The key question is, does the workshop have devices that can amplify power and detect electromagnetic waves? If there is, then the 1,000-mile communication range can be achieved." Lisa Xuan smiled and said, "Mr. Mo, you can rest assured. Now, everything is ready. We only need one thing. Now, let me talk about the third trump card project. From today onwards, the Academy will establish a standards of measurement committee. I will be the chairman, and Mr. Su Hongji, Mr. Mo Huai, and Mr. Wang Ji will be the vice chairman. The purpose of establishing the Standards of Measurement Committee is to establish measurement units and standard for some new physical quantities, such as current, voltage, resistance, and so on. For the third trump card project, first of all, we need to establish measurement units and standard for the three physical quantities of current, voltage, and resistance, and make measuring instruments. In addition, I plan to reformulate the units of length. From small to large, they are millimeters, centimeters, decimeters, meters, and kilometers. Among them, 3.07 meters is equivalent to 1 zhang. 1 meter is equivalent to 10 meters, 100 centimeters, and 1,000 millimeters. According to this conversion relationship, the Academy needs to make new measuring tools. In the future, all the projects of the Academy will use this new unit of measurement. This will be conducive to more precise production. The reason why we need to establish and carry out these two trump card projects at the same time is mainly because there are many cross-links between these two projects, which can play a role in promoting each other. According to historical records, 1 zhang in the Tang Dynasty was equivalent to 3.07 meters. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a faint buzz of discussion in the conference room. Lisa Xuan wanted to establish units and standards for the new physical quantities, but he also wanted to change the unit of length that had been deeply ingrained in everyone's minds. This was a bit difficult to adapt to. However, Lisa Xuan's reason was too strong, because the new unit was indeed more precise than the previous inch, foot, and zhang. It was also more conducive to precision processing and precision production. I know that you may not be able to accept the new unit of measurement for a while, but when you participate in the precision manufacturing project in the future, you will know the benefits of this new unit of measurement. Seeing the difficult expressions on everyone's faces, Lisa Xuan smiled and comforted them. Then he said in a deep voice, "Next, I will announce the personnel appointments for these two trump card projects. I will appoint Mr. Mo Huai as the chief designer of these two trump card projects, and Li Tai, Mo Chue, and Su Hongji as the deputy chief designers. The few of you must quickly select the outstanding students and teachers in the academy who have outstanding results in mathematics and physics to join these two trump card projects as soon as possible. The deadline for these two tasks is half a year. Within half a year, the set goals must be achieved. Like a stone that raised 1,000 ripples, everyone was stunned. At this time, the teachers of the academy noticed that Li Tai had been standing behind Li Zishuan all this time. Was Li Zishuan crazy to let a student be the vice president of the trump card project? Chapter 1462. Yamacho, I can't be the deputy chief designer. You'd better let the other gentleman do it. In the meeting room on the first floor of Guanghua Building. As soon as Li Zishuan finished speaking, Li Tai was the first to exclaim. He had expected Li Zishuan to let him take on heavy responsibilities in the two killer projects, but he didn't expect Li Zishuan to let him be the deputy chief designer directly. He was just a student. In the past year of Yanhuang College, an academic atmosphere of respect for teachers had formed. In the college, no matter if you were a high-ranking official or a noble, once you came here, you had to listen to the arrangements of the teachers. Therefore, when Li Tai heard that he was going to be the deputy chief designer and lead a group of teachers in the college to work on the projects, the little fatty was immediately flattered. At this moment, the teachers in the meeting room were also discussing spiritedly. Some of them even looked a little unconvinced. After all, Li Zishuan's move was publicly announcing that their abilities were not as good as Li Tai's. How could some of the proud teachers be convinced? Yamacho, Qin Kei is talented and has excellent grades in the college. This is undeniable, but he is still a student. Now that the college's final exam is imminent, Qin Kei should seize the time to prepare for the exam. If he is appointed as the deputy chief designer, I'm afraid it will affect his studies. Yamacho, please reconsider. Sure enough, as soon as Li Tai finished speaking, one of the teachers in the college stood up and saluted Li Zishuan. The person who spoke was Mo Chue. As the next powerful successor of the Mo family, Mo Chue's personal ability was naturally impeccable. Otherwise, he wouldn't be one of the deputy chief designers of the second and third killer projects. However, Mo Chue also had his own pride. Now that Li Zishuan asked Li Tai to be on equal footing with him and to be the deputy chief designer together, Mo Chue felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. However, Mo Chue was not the kind of person with low EQ. He didn't directly express his displeasure in his heart, but used a slightly better excuse. Yes, Yamacho, Qin is still a student after all. She should prioritize her studies. That's right. As a student, Qin can participate in the trump card project, but if he takes the position of deputy chief designer, it will definitely delay his studies. As soon as Mo Chue's voice fell, there was a sound of agreement in the conference room. Li Zishuan frowned and said in a deep voice, "Studies? Exam? Do the students of Yanhuang College study hard every day just for exams? Do you remember what I said on the first day of Yanhuang College last year? The most important thing for students of Yanhuang College is to apply what they have learned. I compiled engineering textbooks and imparted engineering knowledge to them, not for them to deal with midterm or final exams. I need them to use this knowledge to create value for the Academy and the Tang Empire. In Yanhuang College, Meng Wenhao and Han Li made outstanding contributions in quelling the rebellion in Guan City. Later, Ke Shiqing led the people of Shu County to build roads and mines and became rich through hard work. They are the pride of our academy. Even if their work affects their studies, they are still the role models of all the students of our academy. In my opinion, as long as Qin can help us complete these two trump card projects, even if he doesn't participate in this semester's final exam, I will still give him an excellent grade in all subjects, because the value he creates is far greater than the final exam. You may not know this, but Science Sparrow has already produced the key components needed for these two trump card projects. Therefore, I believe that he is absolutely capable of carrying out these two trump card projects. In addition, I will emphasize again today that there will never be a ranking in Yanhuang College based on qualifications. The capable will go up, and the mediocre will go down. Regardless of age or qualifications, this has always been my principle of employing people. In the future, please don't use this secular principle in the Academy's scientific research projects. Yinhuang College had developed rapidly, but in the process of development, some problems were inevitably exposed, such as the ranking of qualifications. This was a fixed practice that had been passed down from the Chinese nation until now. Of course, Yinhuang College also had it, but it was not obvious under Li Zixuan's deliberate suppression. Recently, Li Zixuan had been busy with the medical center and workshop, so he didn't stay in the academy much. This directly led to the revival of the unhealthy trend of ranking qualifications. Li Zixuan felt that it was necessary to take advantage of today's meeting to clean up the atmosphere in the academy. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the entire conference room suddenly became solemn, and the academy teachers present couldn't help but sit up straight. Li Gang spoke at this time. Yamacho is right. The most important thing in the academy to teach and educate is to let the students apply what they have learned. Examinations are just a way to test the results of their studies, and the trump card project is where the students can really express what they have learned. As long as there is a chance, the academy should not prevent the students from participating in the trump card project. This old man remembers that Yamacho once said that the knowledge gained on paper is shallow, and the knowledge gained must be experienced. If the academy blindly focuses on theoretical education and examinations and neglects practice, it will be extremely detrimental to the development of the students. The old teacher was now old, and he usually didn't speak on many important matters in the academy. Now, that Li Zixuan wanted to clean up the atmosphere in the academy, the old teacher had to speak up. His words had the effect of making the final decision. Yin Silu immediately stood up and said, "This old man agrees with Yamacho's point of view. The purpose of Yinhuang College is to establish a heart for the world and life for the people. If we only rely on theoretical knowledge in books and midterm and final exams, how can we establish a heart for the world and life for the people? If Qin Ke is really capable, what's wrong with letting him be the deputy chief designer?" When the three big shots of the academy agreed on a matter together, it was basically the decision for this matter. Mo Huai spoke up. "This old man agrees with Yamacho's suggestion." Su Hongji cupped his hands and said, "This old man also agrees." Ma Zhou nodded and said, "This old man agrees." Wang Ji said, "This old man also agrees." Seeing this, the rest of the academy teachers cupped their hands and said, "We all agree with Yamacho's suggestion." Li Zixuan nodded and said in a deep voice, "That's good." Since everyone agreed, then this matter was settled. From today onwards, all of you must work together to complete the second and third trump cards of the academy as soon as possible. For this, spare no effort in manpower, material, and financial resources. This is not only for the glory of the academy, but also for the Tang Empire to become invincible in the world as soon as possible. Yes, Yamacho. Everyone cupped their hands and agreed. Meeting adjourned. Li Zixuan immediately announced the end of the meeting and walked out of the conference room first. Li Tai hurriedly followed. The two walked out of Guanghua building. In the corridor on the first floor, Li Tai hurriedly called out to Li Zixuan, "Yamacho, please wait." Li Zixuan immediately stopped and turned around. He looked at Li Tai with a playful smile on his face and said, "What's wrong? Qin Ke, could it be that you still don't dare to accept this task?" Li Tai's expression froze, and he said helplessly, "Yamacho, it's not that I don't dare, it's that I can't. Although the academy doesn't care about seniority, Tai has to respect the teachers. Yamacho asked me to be the deputy chief designer of the second and third trump cards projects. If there's any work in the future, how can Qin Ke dare to instruct the teachers of the academy?" Li Zixuan shook his head and said, "Qin Ke, true respect is in the heart, not in the mouth. Besides, there will always be some difficulties at the beginning, but these difficulties are not insurmountable. You need to find a way yourself. Today, I'll only tell you one thing. Xiao Ku is now able to take charge of the Yinhuang Bank." After the final exam of Yinhuang College is over, he will recruit some students who are proficient in mathematics and let them help him manage the Yinhuang Bank by working and learning. When Li Ku was first sent to the Yinhuang Bank by me, wasn't he like you now? He had no experience and no connections, but he was able to achieve such results in the Yanhuang Bank. Qingke, are you inferior to him? Provocation. But even if Li Tai knew that this was provocation, he had to accept it. Because from the moment he was born, Li Tai believed that he would not lose to anyone, especially his own brother. Even if he had given up on fighting for the position of Crown Prince, he was not willing to fall behind others in terms of personal results. Good. Yamacho, I accept this task. Tai promises you today that I will complete the second and third trump card projects of Yanhuang College within half a year. After listening to Li Zishuan's words, Li Tai's eyes suddenly became very firm. He promised Li Zishuan without hesitation. Good. Then go ahead and do it. The future of Yanhuang College will definitely belong to diligent young people like you and Ko. Li Zishuan smiled and patted Li Tai's shoulder. When he first met Li Tai, he wanted to dilute Li Tai's competitiveness because he did not want Tang Dynasty's stable political situation to be ruined by Li Er's sons fighting for power. But now that Li Tai, Li Ku, and the others had clearly given up on fighting for the position of Crown Prince, Li Zishuan slowly began to arouse Li Tai's competitiveness. After all, in his opinion, appropriate and healthy competition was beneficial to personal improvement. And from Li Tai's reaction, the effect was not bad. Faubert, how many second-generation bicycles have you produced? After 2 days, Li Zishuan once again came to the new workshop of Strange Interest Pavilion. He found Faubert and asked. Faubert wiped his sweat and replied, Young master, the chains of the second-generation bicycles require hydraulic stamping machines, and the workshop's machines are fully supplying Zhang Hongxing's plate armor. The bicycles can only be given one stamping machine at most, so the progress is naturally slower. These few days, we have only produced a total of 50 second-generation bicycles. The workshop is now manufacturing more hydraulic stamping machines to speed up the production of bicycles. Li Zishuan heard this and could not help but be silent. Speaking of which, the workshop now produced too many things. Cement, glass, carriages, steel, water wheels, first-generation bicycles, batteries, motors, generators, light bulbs, second-generation bicycles, plate armor, lances, and so on. The workshop was a little too big. Not to mention Faubert, even Li Zishuan sometimes could not take care of everything. Li Zishuan pondered in his heart. Perhaps he could assign some of the less technical tasks to the people of Lantian County to do. And I got it. Faubert. When a number of second-generation bicycles reaches 100, send someone to inform me. We will sell 100 of them immediately. After a moment of silence, Li Zishuan opened his mouth and said, Yes, young master. Faubert nodded his head and replied, Oh, right, Faubert. How is the progress of the special bicycle that I asked you to produce? Li Zishuan suddenly asked. The special bicycle that he was talking about was the wedding gift for Yin Xiaoning and Mo Lingwei, the electric bicycle. Faubert heard this and laughed. Young master, the workshop has been using the stamping machines to forge the outer shell of the bicycle. I estimate that it will be done before the end of the month. Li Zishuan breathed a sigh of relief and said, That's good. That's good. Oh, there's one more thing. The workshop can't neglect the production of the batteries and DC motors. When Lantian County gets electricity and the second generation of bicycles starts selling well, we will officially launch the electric bicycle. Then we will be able to recoup some of our funds and cover more places in Lantian County with electricity. Now that he had copper, he could bring the electricity from the Ba River hydropower station to the county seat of Lantian County. After all, his residence was in the city. He was busy coming and going, so he had to seek some convenience for himself, right? Faubert nodded his head and said, Young master, don't worry. The battery and motor workshop has been producing. I guarantee that we will be able to launch a batch of electric bicycles before Lantian County is electrified. Oh, Mr. Wong has already refined a batch of higher purity brass. Now, the generators at the Ba River hydropower station have all been replaced with this type of high-purity brass core. I think that the power generation ability will be stronger than before. Oh, the generators have been upgraded? That's great. Lisa Schwan heard this and said with a face full of surprise, "Now, everything is ready. We just need to wait for the final push." I believe that before long, Lantian County will become the first city that never sleeps in the Tang Empire. After listening to Lisa Schwan's description, Faubert's old face couldn't help but be filled with yearning. He smiled and said with emotion, "Who would have thought that I would be able to see a city that never sleeps in my lifetime? Following you, young master, I can see all kinds of miracles." Lisa Schwan couldn't help but smile and said, "Faubert, since you want to see it, then keep looking. There are more miraculous things to come. Maybe in a few decades, ordinary people like us won't even need to take carriages when we go out. We could just take a flying vehicle and travel from Chang into Luoyang in 2 hours." Faubert waved his hand and said, "I'm content. I'm content to have lived until now. I don't dare to ask for anything else." Now, that Fu Bin, that brat, has made a name for himself under young master's command. This old man really has no regrets. Huh. Chapter 1463. Let's go. We're going to work in the city. Early in the morning, when the eastern sky was just a shade of red, 2 groups of young men walked out of the Han Manor and Plum Village. The Han Manor group was led by Old Hu, while the Plum Village group was led by Second Master Lu's eldest son. Second Master Lu also wanted to come, but he was too old, so no one dared to let him come. After the 2 groups of young men left the village, they met at the foot of Cloud Mountain and headed towards Lantian County. "Hey, isn't this Old Hu? Where are you going so early?" On the way, there were many early risers who bumped into the group entering the city, and they couldn't help but ask curiously, "Boss Lin wants to build an inn, so our Han Manor and Plum Village formed a construction team to help Boss Lin do the work. We can earn some money." Old Hu didn't hide anything when he met someone he knew and directly told them about the construction team. "The summer harvest is in a few days. Why are you still going to work in the city?" "Hey, what can we do? If we can't get away, we can only ask someone to help us harvest the wheat. Who asked Boss Lin to rush us?" Lantian County wasn't small, but it wasn't big either. Very quickly, the news of the Han Manor and Plum Village forming a construction team spread. "Hey, did you hear? Boss Lin of the Flaming Yellow Chamber of Commerce wants to build a big inn, and he invited people from Plum Village and Han Manor." Why did he invite them? Why didn't he invite the craftsmen in the city? "Hey, you don't know about this, right? The villagers of the Han Family Manor and Plum Village have all participated in the construction of the Yanhuang Academy and Yinshan Villa. I heard that Boss Lin even went to the workshop of the interesting pavilion to hire a few craftsmen who specialize in construction. It seems like the inn he is going to build will definitely be extraordinary." Based on what you said, Boss Lin wants to build an inn the same as Yanhuang College and Cloud Mountain Villas? That I don't know. But the wages that Boss Lin gave to the Han Manor and Plum Village's construction team shouldn't be low. Otherwise, why would the villagers of these 2 villages help him build an inn when the summer harvest is coming? Of course, Old Hu from the Han Family Manor said that they weren't willing to work in the city at this time, but they couldn't resist Boss Lin's urging. "I think Boss Lin's salary must be very generous." TSK. When Yanhuang College and Yinshan Villas were being built, many people from the Wang family village also went there. "We also know how to build those kinds of houses. Later on, we'll also form a construction team. If there's a boss in Lantian County who wants to build a house like that, we'll also take on the job. Our Liujia village also has people who can build that kind of house. We also want to set up an engineering team." I heard that the workshop of the Strange Interest Pavilion is also hiring. They are hiring a lot of people. The workshop is recruiting again? How could this be? I think there are already many people in Marquis's workshop. "Hey, I heard that Marquis wants to build a power line from the Bar River all the way to Lantian County. This requires a lot of people." "What? Does this mean that Lantian County is going to be electrified? That's great. In the past, when I saw that Yinshan Village was still brightly lit at night, I was very envious. Now that Lantian County has electricity, it will be like Yinshan Village at night. Everywhere will be brightly lit. That's right. I just don't know when our village will be able to use electricity. I've seen it before. Electric lights are much brighter than candles and oil lamps. I want to work at the workshop of the Strange Interest Pavilion. I'll work for a few days before the summer harvest. I can also earn quite a bit of money. I'll go too. I'll go too. While the commoners were discussing animatedly, an empty plot of land in Lantian County's rising Dragon Lane was already bustling with activity. Ox cart after ox cart of cement was unloaded under the shade of a tree beside the construction site. The construction team and commoners were digging the foundation, mixing cement with cement, and sawing wood. It was very lively. Old master, we've invested so much money to build an inn. When will we be able to recoup our capital? You've never done it in business before. Why did you suddenly think of doing this time? In a nearby shed, Madame Lin looked at the bustling construction site. Not only was there no joy on her face, but there was also a hint of worry. This was because she knew that this construction site was burning money at every moment. Lin Wenyuan patted his wife's hand and said with a smile, "Hee, Madam, don't worry. After our long inn is completed, it will be the tallest building in Lantian County. Just based on this gimmick, it will attract countless businessmen to stay here. What's more, it's not like you haven't seen Yinshan villas before. Tell me, do you like that kind of house? That kind of architectural style is hard to come by in the entire world. If we seize the opportunity to build it, do you have to worry about attracting customers? Madam, just wait and see. When our inn is completed, or even when it's only halfway done, there will definitely be many people who want to build houses like us. It's just that it's hard to say if they'll be able to get cement by then." At the end, Lin Wenyuan couldn't help but smile proudly. Although Li Zixuan planned to build a cement factory and increase the production of cement, there was still a period of time before the factory could be put into production. He could use his status as a member of the Yin Huang Chamber of Commerce to get a batch of cement from Li Zixuan in advance. This was a great opportunity. And in business, the most important thing was to seize the opportunity. Those who walked in front would have meat to eat, while those who came late could only drink soup. Seeing that Lin Wenyuan was so confident, Madame Lin heaved a sigh of relief. She said, "It's good that old master knows what to do. I believe in old master's foresight. Our Lin family has already made a fortune from the bicycle business. Now, with this Longman Inn, it's fine even if we lose some money." Lin Wenyuan laughed heartily. "Ha! Speaking of bicycles, our Qin Yizhai's second-generation bicycles will definitely become a best-selling model. Madam, just wait and see. It's getting late. Let's go back to Qin Yizhai and see if the shop assistants have tidied up properly. Newspapers for sale. Newspapers for sale. The new generation bicycles developed by Curious Pavilion are for sale today. Those who want to buy a bicycle, buy a newspaper to read. Newspapers for sale. Newspapers for sale. Curious Pavilion's second-generation bicycles are for sale today. They run faster than horses and are not easy to overturn. Those who want to buy them now." At 7 in the morning, the sun had just risen. The city that had slept for an entire night had completely awoken. At this time, the citizens had just finished their meals and were preparing to start the day's work. On the streets, the newsboys' cries injected a bit of liveliness into the morning of Lantian County. It was just that the content of the newsboys' cries today was especially attractive. Bicycles? Strange Interest Pavilion has made a new bicycle? Run faster than horses? Is it that exaggerated? Is this second-generation bicycle really that good? Hey, that kid, give this old man a copy of the newspaper. Quick, quick, quick. Give this old man a copy too." Once they heard that Curious Pavilion seemed to have made an even better bicycle, some of the bicycle lovers immediately clamored to buy a copy of the newspaper to read the details. The current Lantian County was no longer the poor and run-down county of the past. Countless businessmen had moved in and countless shops had sprung up. In addition, the roads in Lantian County had been upgraded and all of them had been replaced with cement roads. They were both flat and spacious. This had increased the popularity of Lantian County by a lot. The number of rich people living in Lantian County was not much less than Chang and City. The number of people who could afford bicycles was also not a small number. After months of research and development, the workshop has produced a new generation of bicycles that are rear-wheel drive and chain-driven. Compared to the previous generation of bicycles, the second generation of bicycles is at least twice as fast in terms of maximum speed. It also saves a lot of energy and makes it harder to fall when braking suddenly. The second generation of bicycles has truly turned riding into enjoyment. From today onwards, the second generation bicycle will be on sale. There will be a limited number of 100 bicycles on the first day. Chang and City's West City's Craftsman Pavilion, Lantian County's Chow Family's Appraiser Pavilion, Lin Family's Chinya Zhai, Zhang Family's Elegance Pavilion, Liao Family's Jade Treasure Hall, Feng Family's Earth Treasure Pavilion, Lin Family's Wisdom Depository Zhai, and Wang Family's Jubao Zhai will be on sale at the same time. The starting price will be 599 yuan. All customers can try before buying. Note: Curious Pavilion's new products will not be discounted with membership cards. However, membership card holders can still enjoy priority in queuing. Seeing the introduction of the second-generation bicycle in the newspaper, the commoners instantly exploded. The second-generation bicycle is rear-wheel drive. This is a good change. But what is this chain-driven thing? How come I've never heard of it? It's good that you've never heard of it. This is the latest technology developed by Marquee Workshop. If you've heard of it, then why are all the craftsmen in Curious Pavilion working so hard? TSK. The second-generation bicycle is twice as fast as the first generation. That's too awesome. It's just that the price is a little expensive. It's 599 yuan, and there's no discount. The products from Curious Pavilion are definitely the best. So what if it's a little expensive? As long as it's worth it. Besides, is 599 yuan really that expensive? Even a slightly better horse carriage costs more than that. In my opinion, it's better to buy a second-generation bicycle than a horse carriage. But I'm a little curious. What does the newspaper mean by the price starting at 599 yuan? Could it be that the second-generation bicycle has more than one price? I don't know about this. What I'm troubled about is that our bicycle was bought less than half a year ago. Now that there's a second-generation bicycle, what should we do? What's there to be troubled about? Whether we buy it or not. Let's go take a look first. Didn't they say that we could try before buying? Let's go. Let's go and see if the second-generation bicycle is as amazing as the newspaper says. Brother Meng is right. Let's go take a look. This place is closest to the Lin family's Chinya Zhai. Let's go there and take a look. All right. It's all thanks to Boss Lin's Chinya Zhai in Lantian County. Otherwise, we'd have to go all the way to Chang and City. That's right. Lantian County is getting more and more lively. Didn't the Chow family's appraisal pavilion move here too? What was worth mentioning was that under Chow Wendong's lead, the few major members of the Yin Huang Chamber of Commerce had all moved their shops and businesses to Lantian County. For example, the Lin family's Chinya Zhai, the Zhang family's Elegant House, the Liao family's Jade Treasure Hall, and the Feng family's Kuan Bao Pavilion all had branches in Lantian County now. What's more, people like Chow Wendong and Lin Wenyuan had directly treated their shops in Lantian County as their main stores, and their shops in Chang and City had become branches. At 7 a.m., less than half an hour after the Tang Daily opened for sale, a large group of businessmen rushed to the Appraisal Pavilion, Chinya Zhai, Elegant Pavilion, Jade Treasure Hall, Earth Treasure Pavilion, and other major shops in Lantian County that were selling bicycles. Why hasn't the shop opened yet? Where's your boss? Get Boss Lin to open the shop. In front of Chinya Zhai, some of the businessmen saw that the shop's doors were still closed and could not help but shout. Yeah, what time is it? Why hasn't Chinya Zhai opened yet? Open the door. We want to buy the second-generation bicycles. Look, are those two bicycles the second-generation bicycles that the Tang Daily was talking about? That's right. The style is indeed different from the previous generation bicycles. Didn't they say that we can try them before buying? I want to try them. Hey, Boss Lin is coming out. Just as the customers could not help but want to try the bicycles, Lin Wenyuan finally walked out from the side door of Qinya Zhai. He gestured with his hands and said in a clear voice, "Dear customers, please be patient. Our Qinya Zhai will open for business in half an hour. Now, you could try the 2 new generation bicycles in front of the shop and see if the rumors are true. Everyone, please line up and come one by one. Please do not crowd." After he said that, some of the businessmen were immediately dissatisfied. Why must we open for business in half an hour? Can't we open for sale now? I don't want to try it out. I just want to buy it. That's right. I also don't want to try it out. I just want to buy a second-generation bicycle. Reality proved that there were many rich and willful people in the crowd. There were many people who responded to that rich young master. Lin Wenyuan said helplessly, "Dear customers, it's not that I don't want to open for business earlier, but Qinya Zhai only opens for business at 9 a.m. every day. All the shops in this county also open for business in half an hour. How can I break the rules? Everyone, please be patient and try out the new bicycle first. You can line up later to buy it." Hearing Lin Wenyuan's words, everyone knew that it was impossible for Qinya Zhai to open for business. Thus, they could only line up to try out the 2 second-generation bicycles. This young master came first. I'll try it out first. A well-dressed young master stepped out from the crowd and walked towards one of the bicycles. He nimbly got on a bicycle and sat on the seat. With a light tap of his foot on the pedals, the bicycle immediately started to move. Wow! Easy to ride. This second-generation bicycle is really easy to ride. It's 1,000,000 times easier to ride than the previous bicycles. That rich young master's eyes lit up, and he shouted excitedly. The businessmen who were lining up at the back couldn't help but discuss among themselves, "It does look a lot easier to ride than the first-generation bicycles. There's a reason why it's expensive. Of course, I've said it before, Strange Taste Pavilion's products are definitely the best. Although the things here are expensive, the quality is definitely worth the price. I'll buy this bicycle. Today, this young master must buy this second-generation bicycle." The well-dressed young master rode the bicycle and circled the empty space in front of Qinya Zhai twice before getting off the bicycle and laughing loudly. Chapter 1464. Nice ride. It's really nice to ride. The feeling of stepping on the pedals is obviously different. It's completely different from the previous bikes. 599 strings isn't expensive at all. That's right. I feel that this second-generation bicycle is much more stable than the previous one. It also saves a lot of energy. Just step on the pedals, and the bike can move a long distance. Although it's a bit more expensive, it's totally worth it. If I can buy one, I'll definitely buy one. The newspaper said that the second-generation bicycle uses a chain to drive the rear wheel. The chain is probably the thing that connects the pedals to the rear wheel, right? TSK. Strange Interest Pavilion is really amazing. They can even make such an exquisite transmission mechanism. They didn't disappoint me. That's right. I also noticed the chain just now. The design is exquisite, and the manufacturing is even more exquisite. I'm afraid that only the craftsmen of Strange Interest Pavilion can make something like this. I must buy one of these second-generation bicycles. The newspaper said that 100 second-generation bicycles will be released today. I wonder how many will Qinya Zhai get? There should be at least 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm ranked 6th. I also have a Yanwang Merchant's Supreme membership card. I'll definitely be able to buy one today. Lantian County Market, in front of Qinya Zhai. After a group of customers tried out the second-generation bicycles, they were all full of praise. It could be said that if the conditions allowed, there was no one who wouldn't want to buy a second-generation bicycle. As for the previous generation bicycles, they would never want to ride them again. Of course, it wasn't that the previous generation bicycles weren't good. When the first bicycle was released, it still stunned everyone. It was just that the second-generation bicycles were even more stunning. Its dazzling edge completely overshadowed the many advantages of the first-generation bicycles. "Boss Lin, why is there another bicycle over there? And the style seems a bit different?" At this time, The first rich young master who tried out the second-generation bicycles pointed at a brand-new and shiny bicycle by the side of Qingyazhai and asked, "Yeah, that bicycle looks even better. Could it be that the strange interest pavilion produced a more high-end bicycle? More high-end? The second-generation bicycles are already high-end enough. How much more high-end can it be?" Everyone looked in the direction of the rich young master's finger and couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Lin Wenyuan smiled and said, "That's the professional version of the second-generation bicycle, the super variable speed disc brake bicycle." The rear wheel of the bicycle was equipped with the latest transmission developed by Chi-Chu Ge. The transmission was made up of a toothed disc and a flywheel. The flywheel had 8 gears of different sizes, while the toothed disc had 3 gears of different sizes. Therefore, the bicycle could change between 24 different speeds. Not only was it fast, but it also saved a lot of energy. This kind of bicycle is extremely troublesome to manufacture. In the first batch of bicycles that Strange Interest Pavilion made, there were only 3 of them. Our elegant pavilion was lucky enough to get one. Due to the high cost of building a variable speed bicycle, we are temporarily unable to provide a test ride service. Please forgive us. Furthermore, this speed-changing bicycle has already been pre-ordered by someone, so today, only the ordinary second-generation bicycle is available for sale. Needless to say, this marketing strategy must have come from Li Zishuan. Since he had transmigrated from the modern world, he had also started to play with the concept of normal and high-end versions in Tang Dynasty. Oh, this bicycle can even change speed? It was too magical. It was too magical. When everyone heard this, their eyes couldn't help but brighten. The rich young master rubbed his palms together and looked at Lin Wenyuan, saying, "Boss Lin, a straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. Just tell us how much this variable speed bicycle costs. I am willing to raise the price by 500 strings of string of coins. I hope Boss Lin will be willing to part with it." Lin Wenyuan frowned. When he first saw the rich young master, he felt that he looked familiar. Now that he heard the rich young master introduce himself, he finally remembered who he was. He quickly cupped his hands and said, "So, with second young master Chai. Sorry for the disrespect." Who else could this well-dressed young man be other than Chai Lingwu? He had been living in Lantian County recently to watch football matches. His father, Chai Xiao, had just returned from a victorious battle in Shuafang last month and received a lot of rewards. The Chai family was in the prime of their lives. As Princess Ping Yang's favorite son, how could Chai Lingwu lack money? Of course, he had to buy the best car. Only then would he be able to show off in front of his bunch of friends, right? Boss Lin, cut the crap. How much is this speed-changing bicycle? Are you selling it today or not? Hurry up and give me a definite answer. Chai Lingwu said impatiently. Lin Wenyuan was helpless. He cupped his hands and said, "Second young master, the speed-changing bicycle workshop set the price at 1,199 strings of coins. However, this bicycle has already been reserved. I hope second young master can understand. If it really doesn't work, I will personally deliver the bicycle to Duke Xiao's residence when the next batch arrives. What do you think? 1,199 strings of coins." This speed-changing bicycle is actually 600 strings of coins more expensive than an ordinary second-generation bicycle. After Lin Wenyuan said that, the customers in line couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Chai Lingwu snorted and said unhappily, "Humph, how about it? I will give you face on account of your relationship with the Marquis of Yon. I will give you 1,700 strings of coins. You will immediately sell this speed-changing bicycle to me. Otherwise, humph." The hidden threat was self-evident. Lin Wenyuan was suddenly put in a difficult position. Uncle Lin, since second young master Chai wants it, you can sell this speed-changing bicycle to him. We are open for business. How can we not make money when there is money to be made? At this moment, a young man's laughter came from the crowd. The onlookers followed the sound and saw an elegant young man in a white unlined shirt and holding a folding fan walk over. This is the young master of Misty Rain Villa. Why is he here? Misty Rain Villa is still in charge of the Immortal Tea Garden. Old Master Zhang's business is getting bigger and bigger. I heard that the King of Lu and the Sixth Prince were looking for trouble with him a while ago. He has been staying at home all this time. Why does he dare to come out now? What do you mean? Did he offend the King of Lu? Maybe. Soon, someone recognized the elegant young man. Who else could it be but Zhang Qianjun? To some extent, Zhang Qianjun's name was even more famous than Chai Lingwu's in Lantian County. That was because he was the boss of Team Tempest, and Team Tempest was currently the hot favorite to win the League One championship. Yo, I was wondering who it was. So, is the young master of Team Tempest. Team Tempest is not bad. I like the style of play of those players. If you can win a League One championship this time, I will support Team Tempest in the future. Apparently, Chai Lingwu also knew Zhang Qianjun. He lifted his chin and said with a fake smile. Zhang Qianjun smiled and cupped his hands. Thank you for your kindness, second young Master Chai. I heard that Uncle Lin had been allocated a speed-changing bicycle, so I decided to reserve it. I didn't expect second young Master Chai to be a car lover. Today, I will transfer this speed-changing bicycle to second young Master Chai. I hope we can be friends. Chai Lingwu glanced at Zhang Qianjun and said with contempt, Humph, I bought this bicycle with money. Why should I owe you a favor? Besides, it is not that easy to be friends with me. Boss Lin, what do you say now? Since Zhang Qianjun is willing to give up this bicycle, are you going to sell it to me or not? After that, he turned his eyes to Lin Wenyuan. Lin Wenyuan was a little hesitant, but when he saw Zhang Qianjun nodding at him secretly, he could only cup his hands and say, since nephew Zhang is willing to give up this bicycle, and second young Master Chai is the first, I will sell this speed-changing bicycle to second young Master Chai. Chai Lingwu smiled proudly and said, ha, that's more like it. Lin Wenyuan looked at the sundial in front of the shop and said loudly, it's now 9 a.m. Qingya Zhai is officially open for business. This time, nephew Zhang gave a Misty Rain Mountain Villa spot to me. So this time, Qingya Zhai will be given a total of 15 ordinary second-generation bicycles and one speed-changing version of the car. Everyone, please line up. Don't be discouraged if you can't get it. Strange House Workshop is speeding up production, and the next batch of second-generation bicycles will be on sale soon. Back then, Zheng Yinhong had used the shares of the Celestial Tea Garden to exchange for shares of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce, and became a member of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce in one fell swoop. This time, when the second-generation bicycles were released, the Zheng family also received some of them. However, the Zheng family did not have a shop in Chong, and so Zhang Qianjun transferred the 5 bicycles that the Zheng family received to Lin Wenyuan. Of course, in exchange for Lin Wenyuan's speed-changing bicycle, Zhang Qianjun reserved it. But who would have thought that Chai Lingwu would come out of nowhere and snatch Zhang Qianjun's spot? 15 bicycles? Then I won't be able to get it? Hey, 15 bicycles. This is beyond my expectations. I'll definitely be able to get it. I made a fortune this time. After Lin Wenyuan finished speaking, there were howls and cheers from the crowd. But he had no choice. 15 bicycles was the most he could get. Chai Lingwu was quite generous at this time. He asked the servant to leave behind 1,700 Tang yuan and then rode away on the speed-changing bicycle, leaving behind only a gust of wind and the view of his back to the customers. Oh, this speed-changing bicycle is so easy to ride. Chai Lingwu's excited shout came from not too far away. Nephew Zhang, this is my fault. I should have hidden the speed-changing bicycle in advance. Otherwise, it would not have been snatched by the second son of the Chai family. Qingya Restaurant's main door was wide open, and the customers were lining up in an orderly manner to buy the bicycles. At this time, Lin Wenyuan came out and apologized to Zhang Qianjun. Zhang Qianjun waved his hand and smiled. It's okay, Uncle Lin. It's the same to buy the bicycles when the next batch comes. Anyway, we are all members of the Chamber of Commerce. It's more convenient than other people buying bicycles. The second son of the Chai family is not easy to deal with. We don't have to annoy him because of a bicycle. Lin Wenyuan quickly said, Nephew Zhang, you are a righteous person. Brother In Hong has a successor for having a son like you. Don't worry, nephew. As long as the Chinya restaurant can get the speed-changing bicycles in the next batch, I will save one for you no matter what. Zhang Qianjun smiled casually. Then I'll thank Uncle Lin in advance for your kind intentions. It's getting late. I have to pay a visit to Marquis. No matter what, I have to thank Marquis in person for this incident. Lin Wenyuan knew that Zhang Qianjun was talking about the incident where Li Yuanchang and Li Shi tried to force the Fenglei team to play the match but failed. He nodded understandingly and said, Nephew, go ahead. However, I suggest that you seek help from Marquis in advance if you encounter similar incidents in the future. Marquis is a benevolent person. He will definitely uphold justice for us. Zhang Qianjuan's eyes lit up. He cupped his hands and said, Thank you for your reminder, Uncle Lin. I'll remember it. After that, he bid farewell to Lin Wenyuan and left. What? Gone? Gone so quickly? How many bicycles did the appraisal hall prepare? Why are they gone so quickly? In Chang and City, in the appraisal pavilion, a group of customers gathered in front of the door and shouted, Dear customers, we got a total of 15 bicycles this time. However, most of them are sold in Lantian County. There are only 5 in Chang and City, so please come back a few days later. The servant in the appraisal pavilion bowed and smiled apologetically. What? Chang and City only got 5? Is this how the appraisal pavilion does things? Is Chang and City or Lantian County bigger? Besides, is your boss Chow from Chang and City or Lantian County? How can you betray us like this? A hot-tempered customer immediately roared. Dear customer, I'm very sorry. My master used to be from Chang and City. He moved to Lantian County last month and is now a Lantian County resident. The servant replied with an and said embarrassedly. The crowd instantly fell silent. Or rather, the atmosphere was extremely awkward. A similar situation happened in Chang and City's Qingyai. In the past, the citizens of Chang and City thought that they could enjoy the best products before foreigners because they were in the capital. However, this privilege gradually disappeared as Lantian County increased the status of merchants and gradually expanded the scale of business. Now, the citizens of the capital realized that their lives were not as good as the citizens of Lantian County. The supply of a new second-generation bicycle from Strange Taste Pavilion was actually more in Lantian County than in Chang and City. Indeed, the river flows east for 30 years and 30 years west for 30 years. Every dog has its day. What? Little Xian's workshop came up with a new type of bicycle? It's easier to ride, more energy efficient, and faster. Then why are you still standing there? Why don't you get someone to buy one for me? Do you think it's easy for me to go to court every morning? Cheng Manor. Cheng Yaojin had just finished his morning court session and was riding his bicycle back when he heard his second son, Cheng Chuyang, talking about the news that had spread throughout Chang and City. He immediately slapped Cheng Chuyang on the back of his head and roared at him. Cheng Chuyang felt wronged. He rubbed the back of his head and said in a wrong tone, Dad, the first batch of bicycles was very little. When I went there, they were already sold out. I had no choice. So fast. Looks like this second-generation bicycle is really better than the one I ride. Cheng Yaojin stroked his beard and muttered to himself. Then he said, Let your big brother go find little Xian. Forget it. After breakfast, I'll go there personally. Chapter 1465. You can come to me directly if you encounter this kind of thing in the future. Although I won't bend the law because of our friendship, this is within the rules. As the president of the Tang Football Association, I have the responsibility and obligation to help you. Lantian County, Yong and Marquis Mansion's main hall. Li Zixuan said to Zhang Qianjun in a deep voice. He was talking about the matter of Li Yuanchang and Li Gui forcing Zhang Qianjun's Wind and Thunder team to play a fake game. Although Zhang Qianjun not only cleverly resolved the crisis of the Wind and Thunder team, but also resolved his own crisis by staying at home, Li Zixuan still didn't think it was the best way. This time, Zhang Qianjun had encountered a relatively stupid opponent. To be honest, Li Yuanchang and Li Gu were somewhat stupid when it came to scheming against others. Otherwise, they would not have lost thousands of strings of cash. If Zhang Qianjun had encountered a slightly smarter opponent, he and the Wind and Thunder team would definitely not have survived this calamity. Zhang Qianjun, who was sitting below, stood up and saluted. "Thank you, Marquis." He thanked Li Zishuan for helping him deal with Li Yuanchang and Li Gue, and also thanked Li Zishuan for his caring words just now. Li Zishuan waved his hand and said, "You're welcome. Sit down and talk." Zhang Qianjun sat down. Li Zishuan asked, "Qianjun, Mr. Zheng has been in Jiangnan for more than a few months. How is the situation in the Immortal Tea Garden now?" Zhang Qianjun pondered for a moment and replied, "Marquis, after my father returned to Jiangnan a few months ago, he recruited people to pick the tea leaves planted in the villa and sent people to look for fertile mountains with moist air. In the end, Lion Peak, White Vine Mountain, Lingyin Mountain, Wuyan Mountain, Hupao Mountain, and Maijiao Mountain were included in the Immortal Tea Garden. My father took your order and contacted the local county government and officials of the state government. Now, tea trees have been transplanted in these 5 places. We can send people to pick the tea leaves in early spring next year." When Li Zishuan heard that, he could not help but exclaim in surprise, "Old Heights Lord Zheng is really efficient. It seems that the Misty Rain Villa is indeed very influential in the Jiangnan area." Zhang Qianjun hurriedly said, "Marquis, you're exaggerating. Although Misty Rain Villa monopolizes the silk, porcelain, cloth, and grain business in Jiangnan, merchants are merchants after all. It is impossible for the officials of the state government to give face to my father. The reason why this matter was so successful was all because of your prestige, Marquis, that we were able to get through all the important points." Li Zishuan's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but smile. "I'm afraid it's not because of this Marquis face, right? It's just that those state officials want to use the Immortal Tea Garden to make some political achievements so that they could be promoted in the future, right? Now that the Immortal Tea was famous all over the world, Zheng Yinhong wanted to open an Immortal Tea Garden in the Hangzhou area, which was naturally what the local government wanted. Firstly, it could increase the local reputation. After all, Hangzhou in this era was far less famous than Hangzhou after the Qing Dynasty. Secondly, the Immortal Tea Garden could also increase the taxes collected by the local government every year. These were all political achievements. Only a fool would not agree. In fact, what Li Zishuan didn't know was that White Vine Mountain, one of the 5 places that Zheng Yinhong circled, was the Longjing village in the future. In the 7th year of the Qing Dynasty, the surname Lin moved to White Vine Mountain, and then other surnames settled in the village one after another. In the 35th year of the Qing Dynasty, when the 5th ancestor of the surname Lin created the family record for the first time, the name Longjing Village was recorded. Zheng Yinhong hit the nail on the head this time. Zhang Qianjun, who originally wanted to flatter Li Zishuan, couldn't help but be stunned when he heard that. He said with some embarrassment, Marquis is wise. My father sent a letter before saying that the officials in the Hangzhou area did their best to promote this matter after hearing the name of the Immortal Tea. They must be planning to use the Immortal Tea Garden to make Hangzhou famous all over the world." Li Zishuan waved his hand and said, "That's enough. I got it. I'll have to trouble your father to think more about the Immortal Tea Garden." Although he sent people to deliver several batches of tea leaves, the demand in Chang and still can't meet the demand. Many important officials in Chang and have complained to me that the Immortal Tea is hard to buy. Wait until next year. We must solve the problem of the shortage of Immortal Tea. Zheng Qianjun cupped his hands and said, "Yes, Marquis." Li Zishuan thought for a while and said, "Let your father handle the relationship with the local government well. Take note, I'm not asking him a bribe, and we don't need a bribe either. We just don't need to offend them. Usually, it's okay to give them a little favor. But if they are greedy and make excessive demands, just let your father send me a letter by pigeon. I'll deal with them." Li Zishuan understood this very well. In addition, he also knew that the King of Hell was easy to provoke The little ghosts were hard to deal with, and the strong dragon could not suppress the local snake. If he wanted to build a tea garden in Hangzhou safely, he had to give the local government some small favor. But if some local officials did not know how to appreciate kindness and asked for a yard after taking an inch, they could not blame Li Zixuan for being ruthless. Zheng Qianjun felt a chill in his heart. He cupped his hands and said, "Marquis, don't worry. I'll tell my father what Marquis said. I believe my father will know what to do." Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Well, then I'll have to trouble you and your father." Zheng Qianjun smiled and said, "Not at all. This is what I and my father should do. But in Hangzhou, I don't want to have any conflicts with the local government. After all, peace makes money." Li Zixuan couldn't help but laugh and said, "Haha, is that why you didn't get angry when Chai Lingwu robbed you of the speed-changing bicycle you ordered?" Zheng Qianjun was stunned and then said embarrassedly, It turns out that Marquis knows about it." Li Zixuan got up and said, "Lantian County is so big. How can I not know about it? Although a real man knows when to yield and when not to, some people's grievances should be avoided. I'll remember this for you. Later, you can go to the workshop and ask Faubert for a speed-changing bicycle. There are a few bicycles over there that I stopped." After that, he patted Zheng Qianjuan's shoulder, who stood up hurriedly and then left. Hearing this, Zheng Qianjun couldn't help but be stunned. Although he knew that Li Zixuan's words were to win people's hearts, he still couldn't help but feel deeply touched in his heart. After all, in this era where the social hierarchy of scholars, farmers, workers, and merchants was very strict, Li Zixuan, as a marquis, was considerate to him to this extent. Zheng Qianjun felt that even if he had to work for Li Zixuan in the future, it would be worth it. Li Zixuan didn't know that his unintentional words had touched Zheng Qianjuan's soft spot and strengthened Zheng Qianjuan's determination to be loyal to him. But even if he knew, he wouldn't be complacent. What he said was just his heart. Logically speaking, if Zheng Qianjun worked for him, he would be on Li Zixuan's side. He didn't recruit people to be bullied by others. Chai Lingwu openly robbed Zheng Qianjuan's bicycle. Not only did he not give Zheng Qianjun face, but he also didn't give Li Zixuan face. If Li Zixuan was present at that time, he definitely wouldn't let Chai Lingwu off so easily. But now, Li Zixuan couldn't care less about this, because Cheng Yaojin, the Demon King, was here. "Ha, little Xian, where are you going?" Li Zixuan left the Marquis mansion and wanted to go to the workshop. Just as he walked out of Lantian County city gate, he saw Cheng Yaojin riding a bicycle towards him. Old Cheng rode the bicycle with one hand and waved at Li Zixuan with the other, then laughed loudly. Li Zixuan was stunned. To be honest, this was the first time he saw Cheng Yaojin riding a bicycle. Can you imagine a bearded, stocky man in ancient costume riding on a bicycle, waving at you and laughing heartily? Anyway, Li Zixuan felt that he had walked into the wrong movie scene. Shoo! Snapping out of his daze, Li Zixuan hurriedly controlled the bike to stop. If it weren't for the fact that Dabai understood human nature and slowed down upon seeing Cheng Yaojin, Li Zixuan would probably have bumped into Cheng Yaojin by now. "Uncle Cheng, I'm going to the workshop. You came to Lantian County for." Li Zixuan jumped down from his horse and greeted Cheng Yaojin, who was sitting on a bicycle and braking with his toes. "Going to the workshop? Huh, that's great. Let's go together." Cheng Yaojin was still fretting about how to tell Li Zixuan, but his eyes lit up when he heard this, and he laughed loudly. "Together? Uncle Cheng, why are you going to the workshop?" Li Zixuan asked suspiciously. I say, little Xian, you're usually so smart. Why are you so muddle-headed now?" Cheng Yaojin slapped his thigh and decided to go all out and tell the truth. "Don't you think my bicycle is a little old and outdated? Little Xian, shouldn't you think of something?" After saying that, he winked at Li Zixuan with a you-know-what-I-mean expression. Li Zixuan was instantly speechless because the expression Cheng Yaojin gave him was a non-standard, flirtatious glance, and it almost made him feel like he was fried on the outside and tender on the inside. "Ahem, so it's about this. Uncle Chung, I'm going to workshop to arrange for the new generation of bicycles to be delivered to you, Uncle Chin, Uncle Yuchi, Uncle Nyo, and Duke Wei's residence. I didn't expect you to come to Lantian County, so I don't have to make another trip. Li Zishuan quickly understood the purpose of Chung Yaojin's visit, and he quickly cupped his fists and smiled. The only person who could make it sound so dignified was probably this shameless old man, Chung Yaojin. In any case, old generals like Qin Xiong and Nyo Jinda wouldn't do such a thing. Of course, this also showed that old Chung really didn't treat Li Zishuan as an outsider. When Chung Yaojin heard this, he was immediately amused. He laughed out loud and said, little Xian, you know me best. What are you waiting for? Let's go, let's go. After saying that, old Chung hurriedly urged Li Zishuan to go to the workshop with him. Just like that, Li Zishuan rode a horse, and Chung Yaojin rode a first-generation bicycle. The two of them, one in front and one behind, rushed towards the workshop. On the way, Li Zishuan couldn't help but secretly criticize Chung Yaojin for not riding a horse and insisting on riding a first-generation bicycle. To be honest, this first-generation bicycle was really not easy to ride. There was no chain or gear transmission. Basically, one had to step on it once, and the wheels would turn once. It was too laborious to ride it, so Li Zishuan gave up on it after riding it a few times. However, he didn't expect Chung Yaojin to insist on riding it. Perhaps old Chung was trying to be fashionable. Lantian County wasn't far from a workshop. It was only about 4 or 5 miles away. The two of them soon arrived at the workshop. Xiaoxi, where are the bicycles that I asked Faubert to keep? Hurry up and push one out. As soon as they entered the workshop, Song Xiaoxi came up to them. However, before he could say anything, Li Zishuan ordered, Young master, those bicycles are in the warehouse on the west side. I'll go get one now. Song Xiaoxi responded and quickly turned around to get the bicycle. Old Chung wanted to go to the warehouse to pick a good bicycle, but he felt that it would be too embarrassing. He also wanted to save face, so he could only give up. Seeing Chung Yaojin scratching his ears and cheeks, Li Zishuan couldn't help but laugh in his heart. In fact, the bicycles that he had deliberately intercepted in the warehouse were all the same. Even the color was the same. There was nothing to choose from. Not long after, Song Xiaoxi pushed a brand new black bicycle with variable speed disc brakes. Chung Yaojin's eyes lit up, and he excitedly went forward. Good boy. The design of this bicycle is different from the previous ones. It's really a rear-wheel drive. What's the use of so many gears on the rear wheel? Old Chung looked at the bicycle and muttered to himself. Li Zishuan went forward and explained with a smile, Uncle Chung, the bicycle in front of you is the latest variable speed disc brake bicycle released by our workshop. Look at the knob on the handlebar. By rotating it, you can drive the chain to the gears of different sizes and change the speed of the bicycle. This bicycle has a total of 28 speeds to choose from. Not only is it fast, but it also saves a lot of energy, especially when climbing hills. If you adjust the speed knob to the appropriate gear, climbing hills will be very easy. When Chung Yaojin heard this, he clicked his tongue in wonder and said, Hey, this bicycle sounds quite magical. That's not right. This old man heard from Chu Liang that your workshop had made a second-generation bicycle, but I didn't hear him mention that you have a bicycle that can change the speed of the bicycle. Li Zishuan couldn't help but laugh and say, Uncle Chung, the bicycle that Chu Liang mentioned was made by the workshop and sold to ordinary people. It also uses this kind of chain drive and rear-wheel drive, but it doesn't have this variable speed disc. This variable speed bicycle is a high-end bicycle released by our workshop. It's much more expensive and is only sold to a small number of customers. Today, the second-generation bicycle is on sale for the first time. Out of 100 bicycles, there are only 3 of these variable speed bicycles, and all of them are sold in Lantian County. Speaking of which, this kind of 24-speed bicycle, if placed in a modern era where materials were abundant, would cost 2,000 to 3,000 yuan for a slightly better brand. In this era, where bicycles were just becoming popular, Li Zishuan didn't think it was expensive to sell it for more than 1,000 yuan. Hey, so that's how it is. When Cheng Yaojin heard this, he couldn't help but feel a little happy and said, "Hearing you say this variable speed bicycle is quite precious. Ha ha. Xiaoxian, you're really loyal. Chonyo didn't make you a brother for nothing. Yamacho, you're in the workshop. Quick, come over and help me solve the problem." Li Zixuan was about to speak when a little fatty with unkempt hair and a dirty face came running from the east courtyard. He grabbed his arm and was about to pull him to the east. "Hey, you're Wei Wong." Old Cheng found the little fatty's voice familiar, and he felt that the little fatty's figure was even more familiar. When he took a closer look at the little fatty's appearance under the unkempt hair and dirty face, he was instantly shocked. He pointed at Li Tai and asked in disbelief, Chapter 1466. Xiao Xian, how did you torture Wei Wong to this extent? If His Majesty knew about this, he would not let you off so easily. In the workshop of Strange Interest Pavilion, Li Zexuan was pulled aside by Cheng Yaojin after he had helped Li Tai solve his problem. Uncle Cheng, why do you say that? How did I torture Qin Ke? Li Zexuan was stunned when he heard this. Cheng Yaojin thought that Li Zexuan was too embarrassed to admit it. He pursed his lips and said, "Hey, this is not considered torture? Well, have I not seen Wei Wong in a clean, dignified manner? Look at him now. How is he any different from the ordinary craftsman in your workshop? If he did not speak up just now, I would not have recognized him. In the words of the literati, he is now unkempt and unkempt." In order to prove that Li Tai was indeed being tortured, Cheng Yaojin racked his brains and used a few idioms. Unfortunately, he still used them incorrectly. Li Zixuan was speechless when he heard this. He paused for a moment and said, "Uncle Cheng, Qin Ke is participating in a research project of the Academy. It has been hard on him recently, but he is willing to do all this. How can you say that I am torturing him? Research project? What research project? Oh, right. Chonyo did not come home last weekend. Your aunt has been nagging for a long time. Could it be that he is also participating in this research project?" Cheng Yaojin's eyes lit up when he heard this. He immediately thought of his son and asked hurriedly. Li Zixuan was speechless. Cheng Yaojin really thought highly of his son. With Cheng Chumo's results and his restless personality, how could Li Zixuan arrange for him to do research? However, Cheng Chumo was still recuperating in the medical hall. If he told the truth, that kid would probably be beaten up again. After thinking for a while, Li Zixuan could only say vaguely, "You can say that. However, the recent research projects carried out by the Academy are classified as top secret. No one involved is allowed to reveal anything to anyone outside of the project. This is a rigid rule, and I can't make an exception. I hope Uncle Cheng can forgive me." Top secret? What kind of project is so mysterious? When Cheng Yaojin heard this, he became even more interested. Old Cheng was completely convinced by Li Zixuan's ability to create new things. For example, the variable speed disc brake bicycle that he loved so much that he couldn't put it down. Therefore, a project that could make Li Zixuan take it so seriously must be a good project. So he asked somewhat unwillingly, "Little Xian, can't you tell this old man a little? Your Uncle Cheng isn't an outsider, so he won't tell anyone. Besides, you're the Amacho of Yanwang College. Aren't you the one who sets the rules? Why are you so serious?" Li Zixuan said helplessly, "Uncle Cheng, it's precisely because I'm the Yamacho of Yanhuang College that I have to set an example. If I don't follow the rules, how can I expect the others in the academy to follow the rules? Therefore, I really can't tell you about this matter. Don't worry, this research project is definitely beneficial to the Tang Empire." "No, isn't that equivalent to not saying anything?" Old Cheng muttered, but he also knew that it was impossible to get the truth out of Li Zixuan, so he didn't continue to ask. Seeing the brand new bicycle in his hand, Old Cheng's spirits rose again. He laughed and said, "Haha, then Little Xian, you go ahead. This old man will go back to Chang'an first. I don't want that old bicycle anymore. This one is enough." Ha! It turned out that Old Cheng was a person who liked the new and hated the old. This old guy rode the variable speed bicycle and left the workshop like a gust of wind. The poor old bicycle he had ridden earlier could only lie quietly in a corner of the workshop and collect dust. After Cheng Yaojin left, Li Zixuan arranged for the remaining variable speed bicycles to be sent to the homes of Qin Xiong, Yuqi Jingda, Niu Jinda, and Li Jing. These families were the closest to him, so he definitely wouldn't forget about them if there were any good things. In addition, Li Zixuan also sent Lu Feng and Lu Yun to send 3 variable speed bicycles to the palace. They were for Lier, Li Changxian, and Changle respectively. After Changle's qi disease was cured, she was more lively than before. It was just right to give her a variable speed bicycle now. Qingke, I suddenly have an idea. Come and listen to it, and see if it's feasible. After everything was arranged, Li Zixuan went to a courtyard in the deepest part of the workshop and found Li Tai, who was modifying a telegraph. This courtyard was the secret research base of the Academy's 2nd and 3rd trump card projects. Outside the courtyard, Li Zixuan's personal guards were guarding day and night. All personnel entering and leaving had to have their identities verified. It could be said that the security was very tight. Currently, the participants of these 2 trump card projects were being recruited and screened. However, this didn't affect Li Tai, the deputy chief designer, in the slightest. In just a few days, Li Tai had already created simple electrical components, such as resistors, capacitors, and inductors. In addition to the electronic diodes and triodes that the workshop had previously created, it could be said that the foundation of Tang's electronic industry was gradually taking shape. Oh, Yamacho, please speak. Li Tai, who was busy, immediately put down his work and looked up at Li Zixuan. After hanging out with Li Zixuan for so long, Li Tai knew that Li Zixuan's every idea could change this era. He didn't dare to underestimate him. Li Zixuan pondered for a moment and said, Qingke, the telegraph we are making now transmits information through the conversion of electricity and electromagnetic waves. This kind of telegraph can be used in the military to plan strategies and predict the enemy's moves. However, in the future, if the common people have a need for ultra-long distance communication, the telegraph will be inconvenient. Therefore, I am thinking that we might be able to create a device that can convert sound into electricity and then convert electricity into sound. This way, we only need to connect a wire to achieve real-time sound transmission. This was actually a wired telephone. Li Zixuan had long wanted to make it, but in the past, Tang didn't have any industrial foundation and couldn't do it even if he wanted to. However, it was different now. These words might sound like a fantasy to others, but Li Tai wasn't in a hurry to deny it. He pondered for a long time before opening his mouth to speak. Electricity and sound? Yamacho, your idea sounds good, but when we implement it, the first step is to solve the problem of how to convert electricity and sound, which are 2 completely different types of energy. Professional. It had to be said that the current Li Tai was much more professional than before. He could see the essence of the problem at a glance. Li Zixuan's eyes shone with praise. Ha! Qingke, you are right. In order to achieve real-time long-distance sound transmission, the first problem is to solve the problem of converting electricity and sound. Although they are 2 different types of energy, it doesn't mean that they can't be converted to each other. For example, electricity and magnetism used to be different, but with Ink Girl's efforts, they could be converted to each other now. Can't they? I have a preliminary idea here. I will tell you about it first, and you can think about it in private. Yes. Yamacho, please tell me. Li Tai nodded quickly. He didn't feel dejected at all because Li Zixuan wanted to increase his burden. He was a person who naturally pursued new interests and new technologies. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given up on being a free and unfettered lord and come to the workshop to suffer. Li Zixuan picked up a pen and paper and wrote as he drew. Actually, it's not difficult to convert electricity and sound, but we need a magnetic field to act as a medium. Qingke, look, we can use this cone-shaped paper basin at the front of the machine to collect sound. You have studied physics, so you should know that sound is a sound wave produced by an object's vibration. Similarly, when the sound wave hits the paper basin, it will cause a small vibration on the surface of the paper basin. At this time, if we attach a copper coil to the bottom of the paper basin and then place the copper coil in a permanent magnetic field, when the front of the paper basin receives sound, it will cause the coil to vibrate. The coil will cut the magnetic line and produce a current corresponding to the frequency of the sound wave. We have completed the process of generating electricity from sound waves. As for how to convert electricity into sound waves, this is also simple. We can attach an electric coil to the bottom of the paper basin and add a permanent magnetic field. When the current passes through the coil will produce a corresponding magnetic field. This magnetic field and the external permanent magnetic field will produce an interaction force. This force will cause the coil to vibrate with the sound current in the external permanent magnetic field. The diaphragm of the paper basin is connected to the coil, so the diaphragm will also vibrate. Chinke, you should know that under the same voltage, the size of the magnetic field produced by the same electrified coil is proportional to the size of the current. Therefore, when the current passing through the coil is larger, the coil will move more violently in the magnetic field, and the sound it produces will be louder. Therefore, the vibration of the coil can produce a similar or identical sound wave to the original audio signal. In this way, we can realize the conversion from sound to electric current and from electric current to sound. As long as the wire is long enough and the electric power is strong enough, our sound can travel far enough. Li Tai was a little stunned. Faced with such an exquisite design, he was so excited that even his breathing became difficult. Perhaps this was what it meant to be suffocated by a dream. After a long time, Li Tai finally recovered from the shock. He took a few deep breaths and then looked at Li Zixuan as if he were looking at a monster. He opened his mouth, but no words came out for a long time. Sean, Yamacho, this design is too exquisite. It is a wonderful work of art. It is amazing. After his mouth trembled for a long time, Li Tai finally said, if it can really be done, then there will be no need for a telegraph machine in the future. Yamacho, why don't we just start researching this kind of machine that can transmit sound from 1,000 miles away and give up on improving the telegraph machine? What do you think? Li Zixuan quickly waved his hand and said no. Chinke, what I told you just now was just my idea. There is still a long way to go from idea to product. Even if you can make it, it will take a long time to debug the audio in the later stages. The improvement plan for the telegraph machine has been deliberated countless times, and now it is completely natural. We must not give up what is near at hand for what is far away. Moreover, compared to this kind of device that can transmit sound from 1,000 miles away, the telegraph machine is not completely useless. Especially for military communications, the telegraph machine has better confidentiality. Even if the enemy seizes our telegraph machine, it will be useless if they don't have a password book. In addition, the telegraph machine does not need wires to send and receive telegrams. It is most convenient during war. So, no matter what, we must improve the telegraph machine first. Hearing Li Zixuan's words, Li Tai also woke up from his excitement. He nodded and said, yes, I understand. However, he couldn't help but feel disappointed. He knew that there was a more advanced thing, but he didn't have the time to make it. This feeling really made Li Tai feel very uncomfortable. Li Zixuan saw this and smiled. He patted Li Tai's shoulder and said, although we don't have the energy to make a machine that can transmit sound over a long distance, we can first make a simple sound to electricity conversion device. It shouldn't take too long. Oh, Yamacho, what do you mean? Li Tai's eyes lit up as he quickly said. Li Zixuan smiled and said, I just want to make a small thing. Chinke, help me make it. This thing uses a paper basin diaphragm to convert a person's voice into an electric current. Then, it uses a transistor to amplify the current. The amplified current flows through a coil, and through the magnetic field, it vibrates more violently. This way, the sound transmitted will be even louder. I call this thing a loudspeaker or a loudspeaker. Compared to those long-distance sound transmission machines, this thing is much simpler. If you have the time, try to make one first. Li Tai thought about it in his mind, and then said excitedly, this is a good idea. The loudspeaker is simple to make. but the principle is similar to those long-distance sound transmission machines. If we can make this thing, we will have more confidence in making long-distance sound transmission machines in the future. Li Zishuan nodded and said, "That is the reason." After that, he looked at the shadows of the trees outside the house and said, "Okay, then that's it for now. Qingke, you continue with your work. I will leave first." Li Tai quickly bowed and said, "Yamacho, take care." After this incident, he admired Li Zishuan even more. It was like looking up to a high mountain. Although he could not reach it, he yearned for it. "Your Majesty, His Highness the Crown Prince requests an audience." Around 5 in the afternoon, in the Sweet Dew Hall of the palace, Li Er, who had been reading memorials for a while and was nodding off, was suddenly awakened by a sharp voice. Who else could it be but Zhao Song? Speaking of which, only Zhao Song dared to come and report at such a special moment. "Oh, Chengxian is here? Let him in." Li Er rubbed his sleepy face and forced himself to wake up. "Yes, sir." Zhao Song received the order and left. At the same time, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. After a while, Li Chengxian came in. Moreover, he did not come in alone. Beside him was pushing a bicycle. Seeing this, Old Li immediately lost his sleepiness. Without waiting for Li Chengxian to bow, he said, "Chengxian, why did you push a bicycle in?" That's not right. There's something strange about this bicycle." Chapter 1467. Father, this variable speed bicycle is indeed different from the previous bicycles. This is the second-generation variable speed bicycle developed by Strange Interest Pavilion, the Marquis of Yong, and sent someone to deliver it to the palace. He asked me to give it to Father on his behalf. In the Sweet Dew Palace, Li Er walked down from the dragon bed and curiously sized up the bicycle. Li Chengxian hurriedly explained. The bicycle that Li Zishuan gave to Li Er was naturally different from the other variable speed bicycles. This difference was mainly reflected in its appearance. Li Er's bicycle had a 5-clawed golden dragon pattern on it, representing the Emperor. In the entire world, only Li Er could ride it. Variable speed? Does that mean this bicycle can change its speed? Hearing this, Li Er was puzzled. "Oh, this, I have studied it in private. The Marquis of Yong's new variable speed bicycle uses the pedals to drive the chain. The chain drives the rear wheel to move forward. The rear wheel is equipped with large and small gears with different numbers of teeth. You can use the variable speed controller on the handlebar to let the chain ride on different gears. The smaller the rear wheel's teeth, the greater the transmission ratio. Stepping on the pedals, the number of revolutions the rear wheel makes will increase, and the bicycle will run faster." Li Chengxian hesitated for a moment before explaining to Li Er. It could be seen that Li Chengxian had done some homework before this. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to answer Li Er's question. Unlike Li Tai and Li Ku, Li Chengxian was more interested in Yanwang College's engineering. However, he was still the heir to the throne. He was usually busy helping Li Er deal with government affairs. In terms of engineering, he naturally didn't know as much as his 2 younger brothers. Therefore, if he wanted to explain the principles of the variable speed bicycle to Li Er, he had to do his homework. Hearing this, Li Er looked at Li Chengxian in surprise. Then, he said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Hee, I didn't know that Chengxian knew so much about engineering." Li Chengxian said embarrassedly, "Father, you flatter me. Actually, I don't know much about these things. It's just that before I came, I asked a few teachers who knew about engineering. This time, other than gifting Father a bicycle, Xiaoxian also gifted me and Changle one each. Your son has also sent people to inquire about it. Little Xian's Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce has only started selling these chain-driven bicycles today. An ordinary bicycle without the ability to change speeds costs 599 strings of coins. Today, the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce is only selling 3 bicycles with the ability to change speeds, and each one costs 1,199 strings of coins." "Huh, you're honest. But that kid is selling his bicycle at such an expensive price. He really has the nature of a profiteer." Li Er looked at Li Zishuan with some admiration. However, as he said that Li Zishuan was a profiteer, he looked at the bicycle with admiration and said, "This variable speed bicycle is indeed not bad. I will accept it. But you and Changle have never practiced martial arts, so you have to be careful when riding." If this had happened in the Song and Ming dynasties, with the appearance of bicycles, the emperor would definitely not have allowed his children to ride them. This was because it would damage the prestige of the imperial family. However, the Tang dynasty was a very liberal one. The nobles of the Li Tang dynasty were greatly influenced by the Hu culture. For example, the nobles liked to eat mutton and did not like to eat pork or chicken. It was because of this liberal atmosphere that Li Er did not forbid Li Chengxian and Changle from riding bicycles. Li Chengxian smiled and said, "Many thanks for father's concern. Your son indeed does not know martial arts. However, father may have forgotten that Changle has not only recovered from her illness, but also knows some internal martial arts. Father need not be overly worried." Hearing this, Li Er could not help but stare blankly. He had actually forgotten that Li Lizzie's illness had recovered. Sometimes, when protecting someone becomes a habit, even when that person has become strong and no longer requires protection, you can't help but care for them and protect them. Li Er was in this situation with Changle. "Your Imperial Majesty, Princess Changle and Princess Gao Yang request an audience." While Li Er was in a daze, Zhao Song walked in and bowed. "Oh, quickly let them in." Li Er recovered his wits, a trace of warmth involuntarily appearing on his face. He hurriedly said, "Understood." Zhao Song accepted the order and left. Not long after, Changle walked in with a delicate little girl. "Father, father, Gao Yang has missed you." Upon entering the hall, before Changle could even greet Li Er, the little girl beside her ran up and hugged Li Er's arm, acting spoiled. The little girl was about 3 or 4 years old. Her hair was tied into a small ponytail. Her delicate appearance was extremely adorable. This was the future Princess Gao Yang, who would give Fong Yi a green hat. Li Er could not help but rub the little girl's head. With a loving smile, he said, "Ha ha, is that so? Father has also missed our Gao Yang." Finished speaking, Li Er lifted Gao Yang up and kissed her. The stubble on his face immediately caused the little girl to tilt her head back. After teasing little Gao Yang for a while, Li Er looked towards Changle and asked, "Hichem? Changle, why are you looking for father today?" Changle said softly, "Father, Changle just tried riding the bicycle that brother Xiao Xian gave me. I realized that this variable speed bicycle is more than 10 times better than the previous one. However, the palace is only so big, and Changle is a little tired of staying here. I want to ride the bicycle to Chang'an City for a stroll. I've specially come to ask for father's permission." "Father, father, Gao Yang wants to ride on Sister Changle's bicycle. Gao Yang also wants to go out of the palace to play." At this moment, Gao Yang tugged Li Er's large hand and said in a childish voice. Seeing the two little angels looking at him with burning eyes, Li Er could not bear to refuse. He pondered for a moment and nodded. "Yes, that's fine. Changle, you go. But you must return to the palace before 5 p.m. Changle said happily, "Yes, yes. Don't worry, father. Changle is only going to the Warm Tang Foundation to talk to Sister Yushi. I won't go too far." Li Er nodded. Changle, on the other hand, brought Gao Yang and left. Li Chengxian looked at his sister's back as she left. Then, he looked at Li Er with a worried expression and said, "Father, do you want me to send some people to protect Changle and Gao Yang?" Li Chengxian had always doted on this younger sister of his. Li Er waved his hand and said, "There's no need. I'll get Zhao Song to take care of them later. You can go about your business." When Li Chengxian heard that, he immediately felt relieved. He cupped his hands and said, "Yes, I'll take my leave." At this moment, Li Er nodded at Zhao Song. He did not say anything, but Zhao Song had already understood Li Er's meaning. He quickly cupped his hands and took his leave. In the main hall, Li Er turned his gaze to the speed-changing bicycle again. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Men love bicycles, regardless of the era. This kid doesn't make good use of his time to do proper things. Instead, he's always playing dirty tricks. Looks like I have to find time to teach him a lesson. For Lier to be able to sit in his current position proved that he was not a person who coveted pleasure. Although the bicycle made by the Curious Pavilion Workshop was good, it was just a small trick to him. He had the world in his heart. Therefore, after a moment, he could not help but mutter to himself, "Chonyo, tell me, what kind of secret project has the Academy been working on recently?" 2 days later, it was Friday again. Chung Chumo was a martial artist, so his recovery speed was several times better than the average person. His injuries were basically healed. Naturally, he had no reason to continue staying at Yanhuang Medical Hall. Thinking of last week's car accident, he did not return home. Therefore, on Friday afternoon, Chung Chumo went home. After dinner, Chung Yaojin called Chung Chumo to the study and asked mysteriously, "Yes, that's right. Old Cheng's house also had a study. Some people liked to fiddle with things the more they lacked something. Chung Yaojin was cultured, so he had a study at home. He had collected many good books, but the dust on the books was probably an inch thick. He had hoped that his 2 sons would be able to improve themselves in their studies, but it turned out that he had thought too much. Therefore, the books on the shelves were even less read. This study naturally became a temporary meeting room for the family. What secret project? Dad, what are you talking about?" After hearing Chung Yaojin's question, Chung Chumo was dumbfounded. Speaking of which, he had been picking up girls at Yanhuang Medical Hall this week. How would he know what had happened at the academy? He also did not know that Li Zixuan had included him in the list of participants of the secret project in order to cover up his car accident. But Chung Yaojin did not know this. He thought that Chung Chumo was like Li Zixuan, who wanted to keep the project a secret from outsiders. Therefore, he could not help but stare at him and say angrily, "You brat, I'm your father. Do you want to keep it a secret from me? Do I look like the kind of person who doesn't watch his mouth and easily leaks secrets?" Chung Chumo was even more confused by old Cheng's yelling. He wondered if his father had taken the wrong medicine today. "Dad, what secret? What secret do I have to keep? I'm your son. What secret do I have that you don't know?" "That? But Dad, you do seem to be the kind of person who doesn't watch his mouth. In the past, Bao Lin and I peeked at Widow Zhang taking a bath, and you were the one who told them. Bao Lin and I couldn't go out for a long time." Chung Yaojin was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His old face was as black as ink. He could not help but roar, "Shut up! What kind of nonsense is this? I'm talking to you about the secret project of Yanhuang College. Don't talk to me about other things, and don't play dumb with me. Little Xian has already told me that you've been busy with that research project recently, so you didn't come home last weekend." "Huh?" Chung Chumo was stunned when he heard this. He remembered that he had asked Li Zixuan to help him hide the car accident from Chung Yaojin. Now, no matter how stupid he was, he probably knew what was going on. Dad, you're talking about this. I can't tell you. The students of the academy must keep the matters of the academy strictly confidential. They can't reveal it to anyone, not even their family members. This is the rule. Dad, don't make things difficult for me." Chung Chumo was someone who had memorized the Yanhuang College's confidentiality regulations and passed the Yanhuang College's confidentiality exam. He quickly thought of a way to dodge Chung Yaojin's question. In fact, if he could, he would rather not dodge because he was playing with fire. But the problem was that he did not know what the secret project Chung Yaojin was talking about was. He could only think of a way to dodge it. Sure enough, when Chung Yaojin heard this, he was so angry that his eyes were bigger than copper bells. His eyes were about to spit fire. He slammed the table, stood up and roared, "Unfilial son! Bastard! I think you're all grown up now. You dare to play dumb in front of your dad and tell lies. See if I don't beat you to death today." Chung Chumo felt bitter in his heart. He was not playing dumb, he was really dumb. Seeing that Chung Yaojin was about to beat him up, Chung Chumo jumped up from the chair and ran out of the house without looking back. He shouted as he ran, "Mom, save me. Dad is going to kill someone. He's so angry that he's going to put justice before family. Yamacho, do you think this is considered done?" The next morning, Li Zixuan came to the workshop again to check on the progress of the killer project. Li Tai came over with a cone-shaped iron cylinder and handed it to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan took the cone-shaped iron cylinder and asked suspiciously, "Is this the loudspeaker I told you about before?" Compared to the loudspeakers that were hung around the waist in his previous life, the one that Li Tai brought was a little too bloated. It was about 1.5 times the size of a normal loudspeaker, and its appearance was a little ugly. It was really hard to bite it. Yamacho, this thing is just an experimental sample. It does look a little ugly, but it's still effective. Why don't you try it?" Seeing that Li Zixuan was a little disgusted, Li Tai was a little embarrassed. Hearing Li Tai's words, Li Zixuan looked at the loudspeaker in his hand suspiciously. He then raised the loudspeaker to his mouth, hesitated for a moment, and shouted, "Hey, hey, 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 hey." Li Tai, who was standing in front of Li Zixuan, had forgotten to move to the side. At this moment, he suddenly felt a huge wave of sound coming towards him. He quickly covered his ears and ran to the side of Li Zixuan. Although the sound is a little rough and not delicate enough, the amplification effect is still okay. Li Zixuan also heard the sound coming from the loudspeaker, and he couldn't help but be a little surprised. Hearing this from Li Zixuan, the little fatty was suddenly very happy. He quickly said, "Yamacho, so the loudspeaker I made is up to standard?" Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Yes, it's basically up to standard. Later on, we just need to adjust the sound effect." "Chinke, you were able to make such a loudspeaker experimental model in just a few days. That's pretty amazing." After saying that, Li Zixuan gave Li Tai a thumbs up. This was the truth. He really didn't expect Li Tai to be able to make such a rough loudspeaker in such a short time. Li Tai was suddenly as happy as a 200-pound child. He didn't even know where to put his hands. He only heard him laugh and say, "Hee, that won't do either. Yamacho, you flatter me, you flatter me." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.